You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
All right, Chicago's scooping up all the old guys. What's Thuney? He's like 32 years old, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they get him, and they got the dude from the Rams.
Jackson.
And by the way, that didn't work out with the Rams. Like the Rams kind of unloading him. And now as much as we say all good things about the Rams, you're like, okay, if the Rams didn't want him, I guess we don't either. If the Chiefs don't want him, maybe we shouldn't either. So it'll buyer beware a little bit for the Chicago Bears. I don't know. They're obviously trying to build that sucker up, though, on the interior. Protect the dish. Get that hat. Hey, we could do it.
Yeah.
Hammy, baseball guy. Is there already something out there probably like that for baseball? Like a little baseballism shirt?
It's probably got to be, right?
Hey, we should make a footballism brand. Why haven't we done that?
Sponsored by
Nobody. Go quit and get rich.
YouTube TV.
Sponsored by I'm done. Yeah, seriously, is there like baseballism is a thing? If nobody's familiar with that. Now, baseball's kind of unique in the sense that it has a lot of cool little play on words and everything. But is there a footballism or
it looks like there is.
Oh, there is. So other people. I was like, how have people not followed suit on that?
But the only shirt/merch I'm seeing is Sunday Fun Day. We could do better.
We can do better. Good morning, coffee buddies. Good morning, Delphonic. Delphonic wasn't kidding about those short arms or length or whatever it was that he was talking about. Getting into the weeds on those interior offensive linemen or offensive linemen. It's funny, I was rolling around. I don't know if they were referencing our show. They didn't specifically say it, but there was, because we were talking about Walker Little, that's how it works, right? My Twitter feed had like some Walker Little stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so but some of the people that were popping up were like, why are people talking about Walker Little? Like, stop talking about, they were almost like offended. People were bringing up the question about offensive line. I can't figure you guys out sometimes. It's like every year you complain about the offensive line. Oh, we're asking, should you upgrade the offensive line? Is that a bad question to ask? What are we doing? We'll visit with Austen Lane somewhere in the middle of Wisconsin here in just a little bit. Back home. What a wild trek I just had. Holy cow. It's all over the place. Good to be home. Windy around here. Little extra product in the hair today, people. Amby?
You put product in your hair?
I do actually put product in the hair. Yeah, I know. Well, most days. I used to be like a gel guy. I mean, in fact, I always was a gel guy. Never like a hairspray guy, but a gel guy. And, but then I got like, I guess this would, you know what it's called now? It's called clay. Whatever I've got is called clay. What do you have?
I don't do anything.
Guy? You got nothing. You just let it go.
Yeah.
You know what I was watching? I watched that. I watched Conan O'Brien on the Oscars, and because he did the little like the monologue thing, and I was thinking, I was like, man, that guy's got it great. Like he doesn't care what the hell his hair looks like ever, and like he's, you know, most people if they're an event like that, they're not like playing with their hair and just like letting it flop all over the place. They're like dressed for success, right? Mm-hmm. And don't touch it. It's probably like got 2 bottles of hairspray or whatever else in it for those folks. And he's just like, that thing's all over the place, man. That's the way to go. That is the way to go. I got to be cleanly groomed, though, to do my job most of the time. Not here on the TV side of the building, which is in the other room. Austen Lane, hair looks good. Should welcome.
I picked the right time to come on the show, man.
Yeah.
Clay, gel.
Yeah.
Riveting.
Right up your alley.
I'll tell you, like, I forget what the name of it is, but somebody, like, I think I got it as a gift or something. It was like the, you're going to really walk in. You know, I was debating whether to share this story, too, on the show. Now you're going to really walk in on something. But it's like this Bath and Body Works thing I got, and it was like hair clay. And it's actually worked out, like, really well. It also says it has vitamin B5 in it, by the way, whatever the hell that is.
Nice. Like to see that.
But I've bought these things for like $3 in the past. I was like, I like this stuff. It's like pretty good. $3, something like that.
you think it's kind of like marketing when they say like, oh, it has like, B vitamins and like potassium in it, because obviously like that's good for like your digestion and like for your body. Does it really matter for your hair?
I
Like,
don't know.
I mean,
that.
if I was gonna market like some kind of like hair gel or like a shampoo, I'm throwing the gambit in terms of what it has in it. I mean, we got vitamin K, we got vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D. We have some iron in there for you. Little irons it's good for you and everything like that. Like, go and give you some potassium. You can't be cramping out there. So let's put some potassium in that shampoo. I mean, Brent, I'm just talking about like the kitchen sink. We should go into business. Every single vitamin you can think of, we put it in the hair gels, the shampoos, maybe even the lotions. And like, would it do anything? Probably not, but people are suckers.
Fran, we got yelled at for talking about Walker Little a bit yesterday, so now we're going to hair gel. All right? I mean, we get on some various things. One last thing, all right?
I had Fran last night.
Did you have Fran last night?
Yeah.
You want to rip him?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Fran, by the way, is an umpire Austin in town. So
okay.
So
phrasing on that one, but okay.
Yeah. so yes.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Anyway, I wasn't going to share this, but now I'm going to share this because Fran obviously wants more of this talk or anybody else. Anyway, I was showering this morning, right? And when you shower and you're like, the soap is about done.
Yep, that was me as well.
Yeah, like, damn it. Like, I hate that little like soap left and it's breaking and it's, all the whatever. And so like Steph always has like these, I think it is like Bath and Body Works or whatever it's called. And she's got like these tubes of whatever, it's soap, basically, right? Body wash. And so the options were not great today to finish this thing off. And so if I smell like strawberry pound cake,
not a little fruity.
That might
love that.
be the reason.
Ready for his middle school prom, Brent Martineau, man. Let's get it. Hey, I want to ask you guys this question because Brent, you kind of got me on this topic now, and yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about sports later. But
we got 3 hours.
Yeah, for sure. when you talk about like running out of shampoo, right? And you have like no other options. Let me ask you guys this question: whether it's shampoo, whether it's toothpaste, any kind of toiletry, when you get down to the bare minimum, and like it's hazardous out there where you can't, like, you're trying to squeeze it through and you have to add water to it. How long before you actually get a new bottle, right? Because one would say, okay, you take a shower, you don't have shampoo, go on Amazon Prime, make a grocery list, whatever the case may be, and let's get it the next day. Dude, it takes me at least a week and a half to 2 weeks where if I have a toothpaste that's like running out, I will exhaust, like I will get every single like square ounce of it out before I actually go to the grocery store and remember, hey, maybe I should get some new toothpaste, or I don't really use shampoo, but like beard conditioner, same thing for that as well.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way. I mean, squeezing the heck out of those bottles, man.
Oh,
like actually
just
getting
adding
like
water to like the bottle for my beard conditioner like 10 times and shaking it up really good, thinking, oh, that's gonna make a difference.
Like some people walk around with grippers for hand strength. I just squeeze the hell out of a toothpaste tube. Like that last little bit, man. It's like, God, there's gotta be more in here.
Yeah.
Why are we so lazy? Like, I'm not a lazy person, I don't think. But when it comes to that stuff, I'm like, you could walk to whatever the other toothpaste is in the house because we probably have it. Like, a lot of times we'll keep stuff in the garage, like the Costco stuff, because they give you so many. So just keep whatever. Like, you could just walk out there and get it. Nah, let's get 4 more days out of this.
But I'm also surprised too. Like, why is it always like toothpaste? It's in a tube. Like, why wouldn't you just put it like in like a cylinder where you can just open it up? You take your toothbrush, you dip it, and then you're good to go. Like, why does it have to be where we got to like squeeze it and like roll it and then put it on our toothbrush? And this isn't coming from, I mean, this just dawned on me. But like, why wouldn't you just put like in a little bit of a cylinder? You open the cylinder, you take your toothbrush, you dip it, you brush your teeth.
At the very least, by the way, that's a hell of an idea, I think. But
That's
at the
fancy.
very least, you could fancy it
talk.
up, and people will buy it like that
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're like,
That's
"Oh, this
fancy
is
talk.
different." So if that's out there, if that's not out there, let's go because I think you could do that, and people would. Like just the cylinder, however you want to do it, whether you dip it in there or not, I don't know what you do with it, but you can figure it out. You just do the cylinder.
That's fancy.
Yeah, that's probably could do that. It's yours, right? I mean, so you're not going to share that with any. It's like kind of like the peanut butter jar conversation. Like we always say this, right?
Yeah.
It's like, why hasn't anybody figured out that Jif, whatever it is, Jiffy thing.
Peter
like,
Pan.
Yeah.
Peter Pan, whatever. By the time you get down
Jif.
here, it's all over your hand, man, when you're trying to get everything in there. Like,
And
get something else so you can flip it upside down.
And think about it, man, because like we're trying to cater to like, the fancy demographic here. I remember like my grandfather, when he shaved, he had like the old school like shaving like soap where you'd take like the brush and then you'd move it around.
Oh, yeah,
and then you put it up. Same thing for the toothpaste, man, right? Like you have the little cylinder, you open it up, you take your toothbrush and you just kind of dip it in there and then you brush your teeth instead of having, to be a caveman and like trying to strangle out this toothpaste from a tube. Hey, Mark Cuban, we're here, man, because you can't be the Mavericks anymore, obviously. So let's go ahead and invest in what we got, and let's go ahead and invest in some.
You can give those away, this new toothpaste, with those raised season ticket prices.
That was unbelievable.
Hey,
by the way, thoughts and condolences to Kyrie Irving, who tore his ACL. So he's out for the season as well, man. So Mavericks fans going through it right now.
I saw my buddy Mike Leslie. He works in Dallas, right? So he covers all the Dallas teams. He used to intern with us up in Albany, New York. And he's done a nice job, had a nice career. But he was the one that had the D's Nuts thing with CD Lamb.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
remember that?
Yeah.
And but I saw him tweet yesterday, or maybe I saw it this morning, and he listed the things. Find it, Mike Leslie on Twitter, and I'm not going to go through it, but he listed the things that have transpired with the Dallas Mavericks in the last 30 days. It's unbelievable.
It's a lot,
starting with the trade. It's unbelievable what has gone on for the Dallas Mavericks. They'd be like, holy cow. We thought it was bad around here when they kept Trent Baalke.
Oh, no.
The Dallas Mavs in the last month have been something. Does Cuban still, he doesn't own the whole thing anymore, right?
No, so he's like the minority owner now. So as far as decisions are concerned, I'm sure he's got some sort of say, but he doesn't have the final say of it. So yeah, it's really not his team anymore. But obviously, I think a lot of people still think he's tied to that team.
All right, people, if you want to be rich, toothpaste, nobody's figured out the peanut butter, and gel or hair clay.
Vitamins with all the vitamins.
Plenty of vitamins. Dress it up.
And just sell it for $300 a bottle and somebody will buy it.
Somebody's going to buy it.
Put some whey protein in there, let's go ahead and toughen up our
little creatine.
A little creatine.
Creatine, that would be good.
Hey, creatine and water goes hand in hand, man. Creatine in that hair with some water. Let's go, Hamby.
That would be good. We got Trevor on this too, by the way. We'll partner up with him and then we're golden.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, add some volume to that hair. I like it.
We got an idea, Trevor. Let's take it to him. Hey, the Chicago Bears have an idea for Caleb Williams. It's go get every guard there is on the market, or at least try to make the market. It's interesting, right? They obviously have to do better on their offensive line. But I don't know if I'd want the Jags to go pick up either one of these guys at 32 years old. They just traded for Thuney, or they're going to with the Chiefs, and then they make the trade with the Rams. It's weird. I hate to say, you try, and I can appreciate you trying to beef up the offensive line. It just feels like, why are these teams getting rid of them? Should the Jags have been in the market for them? If they were to go get Thuney at 32 years old, would you be excited about that, or be like, let's move toward the future?
To me, it's an upgrade, Brent. So I would definitely be excited. But then, once reality sets in of how much they're asking for, for that and everything, then it's like, okay, well, is the juice worth the squeeze? And I think in Chicago right now, you have a circumstance of, and we've talked about this before on the show, you had Justin Fields, right? And he's shown in Pittsburgh that he can be a capable quarterback, but you didn't give him the weapons, didn't give him the tools to succeed, right? So this is course correction now. You bring in the coveted first pick overall in Caleb Williams. It doesn't go good his first year, even though you gave him offensive weapons, but you didn't give him an offensive line. So now you're trying to go, okay, well, now let's shore up the offensive line, make sure he's safe. And I guess what it really comes down to is, I like the fact that you're trying to invest in your franchise quarterback. That's what needs to be done. But do we have all the faith in the world that Caleb Williams is going to be that franchise quarterback? I guess you're just trying to say, you know what, let's give him all the tools possible and find out. Maybe they should have did that for Trevor Lawrence his first couple of years. But you run the risk of, if Caleb Williams isn't the guy, well, now you're paying a lot of money to a lot of guys that you may not need.
Yeah, I think they feel like Caleb Williams is the guy. They've just got to do a better job of not getting him hit, right? And they did a good job, it looked like, of building around him skill-wise, but they just couldn't figure that part out. And I do start to wonder, guys, that could they become the Cincinnati Bengals a little bit, where you're trying, and the Bengals have tried to beef up that offensive line. They just haven't had a lot of success in doing it. They've taken a lot of swings, and a lot of them have been misses or, for the home run crowd, bunts. They just haven't been big deliveries in that department. So this feels a little bit almost desperate by Chicago, but they're trying to address a need, and they must not see an opportunity to get there in the draft that way. And so they're trying to do it this way, which the Jags might do something like that on the back end, right, with cornerback and safety being rumored as a free agent possibility for the Jaguars. But if you're giving up an offensive lineman, Austin, usually you're giving up an offensive lineman for a reason. Take Jawan Taylor, who is a good player. Mm-hmm. He goes to Kansas City. I think Jawan's a good player, but $20 million a year is, I don't think so, right? And Kansas City's been fine with him, mostly because they're fine with anybody. But he's also had some issues there, and I wouldn't say he's been $20 million worth, of a payment. Then again, you have the Rams and the Chiefs trying to unload here. Is there a reason for it? Cincinnati just unloaded a 30-year-old center. So I just think that's where you have to be a little bit cautious. It's especially coming off last year with Balky going to get Darby and even Armstead and guys like that where, okay, you're getting those longer in the tooth players. What's left? Why are these good organizations, why are these winners getting rid of them?
Yeah, if I was going to venture a guess, Brent, and obviously I'm not in a GM position or even like a scouting department position, but if I was going to venture a guess and say, okay, well, if you look at the league and you look at how the playoffs shook out, right, and you look at like a team like Minnesota, who had all the offensive firepower you could ever want, and they had a quarterback that was playing at a pretty high level, but where'd it go wrong? Well, Sam Darnold got hit like 25 times in the first half, right? Like they didn't stand a chance. Like they were outgunned, outmanned, outmatched. And when you look at like the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, wasn't for a lack of, talent. It was for a lack of, your offensive line couldn't stop anybody. And the Eagles had an absolute field day in the backfield. It was a block party back there. I guess it wasn't a block party because you weren't really blocking, but you know what I'm saying. So I think when you look at it, if you were to let go of your high prized guards or your tackles, I think a lot of NFL teams, Brent, can go, you know what? Yeah, we covet them, and yeah, they do a lot for our team, but look at how much money they're asking for, right? Mm-hmm. And is the juice worth the squeeze? And then if you're a GM, you can go, okay, well, you know what? I know that if we get one of the best tackles, one of the best guards in the draft, we can plug and play him right away, and it should be okay. And there might be like a 1-year growth period where you have to learn to acclimate, but overall, we can save so much more money if we target that in the draft, as opposed to like an edge rusher, as opposed to maybe like even a linebacker. It's like, well, we can risk it. We can let our prized outside linebacker, defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker go and maybe get somebody in the draft, but will we get even close to the same production? So I think the belief among GMs around the NFL is that you can get similar production, Brent, from first round picks or high draft picks if you let your guys go on the offensive line, but on other positions like corner, defensive end, defensive tackle, etc., you might want to keep those guys because they could be harder to find in the draft.
Yeah, I get it. I think there's like this age-old, well, I don't know about age-old. I think there's a new, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, about what these top-line defenses and their fronts do. And there's such a hard, it's so hard to get.
Somebody just said, hey, that was a really good point in the waiting room here. They're like, that's actually a good call. I'm like, yeah,
oh, good. Thank you. Yeah. We're going to take over for Around the Horn since they're leaving. You get 3 points for that or whatever you get on Around the Horn.
Yeah. Missed that one.
Live audience. I think, do you want to be dominant up front? Is it more important to be dominant up front on the defensive side than it is almost to be dominant on the offensive side? Now, I don't know if it's more important. I think it's easier to be dominant up front on the defensive side, I guess is my point, right? So how do you like, that's the thing. Like, you could put a lot of your dollars and resources into the defensive line, and then you could draft and hit and hope and all those things, and even second, third, fourth round guys from a guard perspective or on that offensive line at center. Jags have done that in the past, right? Third round center where Brandon Linder been very good. So I it's just hard to get good offensive linemen. It's hard to be down. I think it's almost like trying to chase the Patrick Mahomes quarterback. Like, that is a very hard bar to reach. I think right now what Philadelphia has done, and the reason why they're good, is because they have the dominant offensive line. And they've been able to have that now for a few years, and really probably going back some years, especially with the emergence of Lane Johnson, like in the like around 2015, 16, whatever that was. So they've been dominant. YB400 says both sides need to be dominant. Yeah, I know both want to be dominant, and both could be dominant, should be dominant. But, like having an elite quarterback or the best quarterback in the league would be nice too. I think it's just hard to be dominant on the offensive front. And I'll also I'll say this. We have seen some dominant offensive lines not really do well in the postseason. Indianapolis at one time had one of the best offensive lines in the game. Dallas for years had some of the best offensive lines in the game just in the last decade or so, and they couldn't win playoff games. The dominant defensive fronts are the ones that seem to go win Super Bowls, Austin.
No, I agree with you. And to just kind of, as you would say, put a bow on my point here, I do think and I don't have the numbers in front of me, obviously, I'm doing this from my cell phone, but I would be willing to venture a guess that if you take the past 10 to 15 years, and now Jaguars fans go to put your earmuffs on because we're going to have Luke Jokel remorse, and Kansas City Chiefs fans, you're probably going to have a little bit of Eric Fisher remorse, even though he had some solid years in Kansas City, but Lane Johnson, I believe, from that same draft was really the toast of that said draft. But I think if you look at the past 10, 15 years in terms of first-round picks, if you want to look at guards compared to defensive tackles, compared to edge, compared to quarterbacks, compared to corners, whatever the case may be, I would say that consistently you probably hit on a lot more of your interior offensive linemen, followed by maybe your offensive tackles, and then it's followed by, maybe your edges, followed by interior defensive tackles, and then obviously last is probably quarterback because it's such a gamble with the quarterback position. But I do feel like if you invest in the first round, especially in an interior offensive lineman, Brent, more than likely you're going to get a pretty solid player that's going to be on your team for a long time to come.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch this and see if they can identify it. And again, there are 32 teams in the league. You do the math on this, times 5, 150 plus offensive linemen. There aren't that many of them that exist that are just like great. Okay, again, overused word, great. But so to get to a really high level. Now, can you be okay with them? That's a different story, right? Are you bad? That's a different level. Like, you want to avoid bad. You want to be like, okay. And then I do kind of agree with, I think, Michael, with a great OL, no team will advance. Teams built from the OL out. I don't think no team will advance. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals made the Super Bowl. So there are ways to advance. Without a great offensive line. You do have to be adequate. It just does jump out at us this year, especially, that some of the teams, like the Ravens, we even look at the Bills, they've done a good job there. And I think the Chiefs' offensive line wasn't bad. They certainly have tried to invest in that. And then, of course, the Eagles and the Lions. The Lions, too, are another one in this category. And even San Francisco, who previous to this year had gone to 4 straight NFC championships, good offensive line, led by best left tackle in the game in Trent Williams, right? So, and when he was out, they wouldn't do well. But when he was in, they did pretty damn good. So there are parallels. There's no doubt about it. The question here in Jacksonville is how good can this line be? And are you chasing your tail a little bit if you're really trying to be like the Eagles offensive line? It's okay to try to be like the Eagles offensive line, but the reality of that is almost like, in my opinion, trying to be Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes.
No, I agree with you, right? And especially like how they built that offensive line. I mean, I'm not going to say luck's involved because it really comes down to talent evaluation. You have a guy in Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson's still the right tackle there, yeah? Was he hurt this last season, or was he the whole year he was there?
He was there.
Yeah, he was there.
Okay, yeah, he was there this season. Okay. I can't remember if he got hurt during the season, though. Okay. So Lane Johnson, I mean, I'm pretty sure he was in the Luke Jokel, Eric Fisher class. So that was what, 2000?
He was. Yeah, he was like the 5th or 6th guy taken, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like 2013, I think that was the draft, if I'm not mistaken.
You got it.
So like that's a seasoned veteran right there, And then your other side, you have a guy that didn't play a lot of football, and Jordan Mailata, who was more of like, I think he's a rugby dude, but like you see athleticism, you see a chance, take a chance on him. and that pans out, and you give him a new contract, a high price contract. So yeah, sometimes you have to luck into things a little bit. Sometimes you have to draft correctly. Sometimes you have to evaluate the talent, but it goes to show you, Brent, like once you get those guys there, they can be there for a long time. It's just a matter of finding those guys. And unfortunately in Jacksonville, like you've had a lot of drafts. You've had the Luke Jokels, you've had the Cam Robinsons, you've had the Juwan Taylors. And some of those guys have been serviceable, but have they been cornerstones? Have they been backbones where it's like, well, we have to re-up on this guy because he's going to be a cornerstone for a long time to come? We haven't had that guy.
Yeah. One more thing about the Eagles is they replaced Kelsey with what? Cam Jurgens? Is that who it was? And they didn't skip a beat. I mean,
they had a little trouble in the beginning of the season. I remember with like the tush push and like false starts and everything. But and because the only reason I remember that is because when the Eagles played the Falcons on Monday Night Football, I was watching it, and they brought in Jason Kelsey, which was a genius thing to do. And even Jason was saying like, listen, it's not going to be perfect with the tush push. It's not going to be perfect with the call sets right away because I was there for so long. But give the young guy time, and he'll be able to shine. And lo and behold, he helps them win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and of course, it's easier to shine when everybody else is good around you, too. I always say that. Like, you get put in a good spot, much like even the rookies playing cornerback on the Eagles. They're surrounded by a lot of good players. That makes you play better, raises the level of play, but also hides weaknesses. You're exposed, and you have to do more here in Jacksonville or other places because there's more on you to do because there's not as many players around you, so therefore you get exposed. One other thing about Lane Johnson, I just think this part's interesting, and it goes back to, again, covering the Giants. I bring up two main things when I covered those Giants teams. That was before, really, right when I left Albany, was when they won the 2 Super Bowls, and I got here to Jacksonville. But two things, again, they're ingrained in me because I just remember the conversation, especially out in New York, where it's like, why are you picking all these defensive linemen, right? You already have Strahan, this, that. Okay, we've talked about that a bunch. But the other one was that they had actually been with their offensive line, and by the time they got to like 2007, 2008, 2009 in that window, those guys had been playing together for a long time. They were patient with them. They had put together now a body of work, that unity was there, that chemistry was there. And although they had struggles for probably a couple, 3 years, in that stretch, they then hit their, where they wanted to be. Well, Philadelphia reminds me of that a little bit too. Lane Johnson was not this Lane Johnson early on. Lane Johnson was not great right away. That was not the thing. They were patient with him, and they coached him up. And they turned, I think it was by like year 3, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even year 4, right when he was going in a contract year, where things really started to go for Lane Johnson. So you got to give a lot of credit to their coaching staff that's able to get a lot out of these guys. Obviously, turning a rugby player into a good offensive lineman, that's pretty good on coaching too, right? Yeah. I mean, like those are good coaching points, and it just hits because YB400 says if a team has weaknesses, it's up to coaches to scheme to their strengths. And that is part of it too, right? And that's kind of the book on Cohen last year. He actually didn't scheme probably the way he wanted to with Tampa in the run game, but he schemed to the strengths of the offensive line and the running backs. We'll see if he does that here in Jacksonville.
Well, I'd be hit it right in the head there, because with Lane Johnson, remember what happened with him. When he got into the league, he was playing for Chip Kelly, which it was more of like an offensive, a college-friendly offense, because it was no huddle, spread, all this stuff. So I'm sure that's what he was used to doing at Oklahoma. But then when Chip Kelly got let go, that entire offensive philosophy changed. And all of a sudden, it's not so much no huddle. It's not so much up-tempo spread. Now it's a little more traditional NFL system. So when you go from, essentially maybe doing what you did in college at Oklahoma, and then all of a sudden you got to be like, hey, welcome to the NFL now, Lane. You got to, change it up a little bit, more power run football. That can be hard for anybody, but eventually, he figured it out, obviously, and I think he's still regarded as one of the best right tackles in all of football.
Hey, how much do we have to be careful, real quick, on this part of it? Hamby, you can jump in here, too, if you want, because I think fans right now, and I'm already seeing the reaction about the Joe Thuney stuff to the Bears. It's like, we have to be really careful this time of year to get enamored with the name more than the game, And I think we're going to try to figure out what the Jags are doing here, but I don't think they're going to be enamored with the name. I don't think, we know there are big names, guys that have been around a while, guys that have played well, but again, 30, 31, 32, 33 years old. Is that where this organization wants to be right now? If you think about it, they're kind of, I wouldn't say they're old, but they're not young. They're more veteran their experience. Like, they got a lot of guys on this football team that have played. They should be able to bring in younger players right now and be able to morph them into the current body of this locker room and be okay. Like, I don't think we're in a situation like 2013, Austin, where you're starting to cut Darryl Smith and guys like that, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, we're our veteran guys for these guys to look up to. Now, I think even Trevor Lawrence at 25, he's played a ton of football, right? I mean, ETN, these guys aren't necessarily old by age, but they are older experience-wise. So I think it's time to go get the younger player and less the name player, hoping that you got 1 or 2 more years left on. And I think people are going to be like, oh, let's go get Darius Slay. Let's go get Thuney. Let's go get this guy because we know their names. And I'm not really sure that's where the Jags are going to head over the next week. In fact, I'd be a little bit surprised if they do that, get anybody north of like 30 years old.
Yeah, see, I mean, there's obviously pros and cons with that statement, right? Because I think a big discrepancy that we've said on the show many times in the past couple months is, do they have all the leaders in place to be a successful franchise to purvey what Liam Cohen's trying to do, right? Because if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you got Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin, you got Tristan Wirfs. David's still there on defense, I believe, right? So you have a lot of guys who have been having success, who play at a very high level, who have been around the league for a while, that can help purvey said coach's message. If you look at the Jaguars, we talk about the staples, we talk about the pillars, Josh Hines, Allen, sure, but Tyson Campbell, still got to earn your stripes, man. You got the money, still got to earn your stripes, though. Trayvon Walker, absolutely. Foye Lukin, yeah, as long as he's here. Evan Ingram, yeah, as long as he's here. Christian Kirk, well, yeah, as long as he's here. There's a lot more guys where it's like, we're not sure what's going to happen yet, Brent. So I'm not sure how I feel about saying, you know what, let's go in a younger direction now, man, because we have the coaches, we have everything in place. Now it's time to build from the ground up. I get all of that, but do we have the amount of leaders in that locker room that can purvey Liam Cohen's message? And I'm not sure. I think if you look at Mitch Morse, listen, Buffalo, with all due respect, didn't really miss a beat without Mitch Morse. They still had success, right? But we coveted him. He was probably the toast of that free agent draft class that the Jaguars brought in. And he helped a lot of people out. And I think we're excited for him this up and coming season again. So yeah, maybe you're going to bring in some guys that are a little long in the tooth on the back nine of their career. But let's be honest here. If we can milk 1, 2, 3 great years out of them, that's only going to kind of help set this new tempo, Brent, of what this regime's trying to do. Like, we're not asking for 10 service years here. We're just asking, hey, do things the right way, purvey things the right way, and in turn, when you're gone, then the guys that you know, like the rookies and the draft picks and the young guys that you brought in can carry on that message. Yeah,
that's a good point. I think, again, there are a couple of those guys already that exist. I mean, we'll see what they do. Evan Ingram, Armstead, Morse, you mentioned. There are those guys that are kind of that north of 30 age that can help do that, and they're probably more. But I think you bring up an interesting point, Austin. Like, will they try to go get a Tampa Bay Buck or an LA Ram just to kind of bring some of that over as well? That'll be something to watch, and it might be like a BC level kind of free agent, but it's someone that knows, right? It could be a special teams guy. It might not be a blockbuster.
Or even, I mean, do you somehow bring a Green Bay Packer over?
Or a Packer, right?
Because once again, I mean, in terms of, the defense and everything, like, yeah, there maybe needs to be a little bit of an overhaul there of how they did last year. So then, you have a new defensive coordinator from Green Bay. Do you bring over a Green Bay Packer to try to, purvey the message, purvey the system, and help that out?
Yeah, interesting. Who said it? Randy said, nobody older than the 29-year-old offensive coordinator. And that's a little bit a part of it, right? It feels like the Jags went younger, and so it would be weird to see them bring in older guys. The GM's 34, the coach is 39, which isn't young, but in the OC's 29. It would be weird to kind of see older guys come in here.
Start going to Providence and Episcopal and start getting your free agents from there, man. Let's get some high schoolers in there then, if that's the direction we're going to go here.
Hey, real quick, just to put a bow on our toothpaste conversation, Delphonic says they have cylinders where you load the toothpaste, but you pump the toothpaste out.
Nope.
Delphonic knows everything. Like, how does he know all this stuff?
pumping tooth. What are we Neanderthals? Delphonic. I'm talking a nice little cylinder. It's got some essential oils in there, so it smells really good. And you just take that toothbrush, you dip it right in, man, and you're good to go. Fancy. Brent, we sell it for like what, $50-$60 a pop. Every celebrity is going to be buying that, man. I guarantee it.
Throw a little teeth whitener in there and you're all good right now. Fran says, something tells me A-Train cuts at the end to get the most out of it. Cut that toothpaste right at the end to do it. One other thing from our buddy, Coach Sully, with the peanut butter jar. I feel like we've had this conversation so many times, too. They should put lids on both sides so you can do one side, turn the other side over, put lids on both sides. My 2 cents for the show. You're right. And actually, if you wanted to put a little divider in the middle of it, that's fine. But you flip it up, and right? So now you got half the jar to worry about. Like, why haven't they done that yet? That can't be that much more expensive.
Hang on now, though, Brent. Hang on. And listen, I love the enthusiasm here, right? And we're all trying to make millions of dollars on this show, Mark Cuban. Hopefully you're listening. But I don't like the idea of having a double-sided, like one side's peanut butter, one side's jelly, because I don't put the same amount of jelly as I do with my peanut butter, right? Like I think the peanut butter to jelly ratio, it's got to be like 1.5 to 1.7 peanut butter and then 1 for the jelly.
Well, that's true. Like, yeah, I was thinking just both are peanut butter, though. There's just 2 lids on, just
Oh, no, okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's just all peanut butter.
I thought you were saying like you wanted one side to be the jelly, one side to be the peanut. Okay, well, I got you.
I do think you could evolve to that, though. That's not a bad idea. But you'd have to.
No, because, once again, you don't like the peanut butter to jelly ratio. You're messing it up now.
Don't they? They do have one of those like squeeze out things, right, where it does peanut butter and jelly. Don't they have that?
Where it mixes it.
It mixes it, right?
Sociopath.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit like
Don't
that.
Mix it.
Don't get that. If you're a sociopath.
Come on.
Hey, big announcement, by the way. The A-Sun basketball tournament is coming to Jacksonville. Just announced moments ago. That'll happen in 2026. So next year, right here, downtown. We're going to talk about that a little later. We'll have the A-Sun commissioner on the show at 12:30. We're also going to talk a little Gator Nationals. Interesting conversation along the way the next couple of days, including today at 11 o'clock. But up next, the article today by Daniel Griffiths is on Trevor Lawrence. He actually teased it when he sent it to me. He said, this one's going to be a fun one. What does that mean? We'll talk about it coming up next on the Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. What is this?
What is happening?
What do we have here?
I don't know about the background, but Gardner Minshew is just informed that he is going to be released.
He is going to be released.
Oh,
okay.
I thought he was going to the Rams in place of Matthew Stafford for a second. I saw Sean McVay up there.
Bring him back to Jacksonville. Backup quarterback. Those conversations will start. We'll give you the latest on what's happening with Gardner Minshew coming up as well. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. And most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade. I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can save $500 on a Kinetico Premier softener and get a free Kinect salt monitor with purchase. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Kinetico water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Kinetico dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
The rhythm of my heart is beating like a drum, with we Armada rolling off our tongues. Never will we roam, for we know our place is home. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Oh boy, what are all these numbers? What are we doing here? Daniel Griffiths, who contributes to Action Sports Jax here on the network on actionsportsjax.com, where you can watch the entire network. Just go to actionsportsjax.com to do that. Usually the video player plays right away for the sports. I think yesterday had a little bit of a malfunction. It was playing news. What's that? So you might have to click over to Action Sports Jax 24/7, which there's a link right there on the video side. So it's not hard, but we've tried to make it easier and easier. And we're kind of excited about that because it also has all Daniel's articles on there. He's been writing the heck out of things for the last few weeks, and we love the different topics. And today's Trevor Lawrence, but he said, I don't know, too. I appreciate. Now, listen, I bet there are some people that just share something late and then wake up, set their alarm, and share it so you think they're working, you know? But I don't know what the hell Griffiths does outside of writing for us. But he sent last night at 9:54, I hope we're ready for some fun tomorrow. Trevor Lawrence passing chart sent to you.
Let's go.
And then he sent at 5:21 this morning. Article sent to you.
That's right. Baby.
And I actually had gotten up. Literally just got up for a minute or two and saw it. And I was like, I said, early riser. Wow. I mean, that's up pretty early. Some people get up really early. Now, you don't count. You're in a weird scope of time because of the morning show.
Right.
But, man, 5 o'clock, that's early. So anyway, we got that coming up, actionsportsjacks.com, and you can find it right there on the website, the full article of everything that Daniel's doing. We appreciate him, and we're going to talk about it just to catch you up a little bit. 2 things that have happened in the last hour. Really 3. If you're in, I don't think the Jags were interested in like a Thuney or somebody like that, but the Bears are stacking up on the offensive line, so that's one thing. Gardner Minshew is going to be released. And by the way, good for Gardner to go get some of that money. I forget what he got guaranteed. It was like a 2-year, $25 million.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was guaranteed 25. You think it was guaranteed, or was it like 12 guaranteed or 15 guaranteed? Like, I'm not sure. But bottom line is, earned a pretty nice payday. 6th-round pick has had a pretty nice career, and he's going to do whatever the hell he wants probably after football anyway. But
it's 15 guaranteed.
It's 15, okay. So that's we'll see what happens with Gardner. I don't think he's going to come back to Jacksonville, but I think he is a good backup quarterback somewhere. He's had some opportunities now, and I think it feels a little bit like Chad Henne, where Henne had opportunities. And it's like, all right, listen, there were some good things in there, and you can make a case that, hey, give him another opportunity. I think he's a guy that can win games for you. I think like Henne, he could come in 4 games. He's that perfect guy. Boom, can do that. I think he'll latch on with somebody else, and I'll have still a long career as a backup quarterback. But it's been a cool career story for Gardner Minshew, and it looks like he's going to get released as they start over at the quarterback position. By the way, I did have this in the office, so if we want to just demonstrate, so we put a lid here and put a lid here.
Thank you.
And put a divider in the middle, and now that's easy. All right? Bam. One other thing.
No divider, because then you're still going to have the same issue. You're still going to have trouble. I mean, you're not going to have the hand issue of getting peanut butter on the hand, but you're still going to have trouble getting it out of the bottom.
Not if it's halfway down. Maybe. You could try it both ways. All right. And one other thing interrupted by the peanut butter conversation, the ASUN basketball tournament coming to Jacksonville. Again, Commish will join us at 12:30. Let's get into this article for the next 10 minutes before we hit the top of the hour. We have an NHRA Gator Nationals driver coming on for a few minutes at the top of the hour, and then we'll pivot right back into some football talk and everything else going on. I was telling Hamby in the break, so this is going to be a fun couple of days and into the next week, because we're going to have a lot of news starting to break like this. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of trickling of news and reports, people moving. When will the Jags reports come? Will they actually move on the next couple of days? I think are huge around here to figure out what the needs are going to be starting next week, and in the draft, of course. There's going to be a lot of storytelling that's going on inside that building by the moves that they make over the next little bit. So, what do we have here from Daniel Griffiths? You love these charts, don't you?
I like them. Yeah.
So, we're looking at a dark blue is above average.
That's correct.
Average is that middle tone blue, and then that like pale blue color is below average. Mm-hmm. So, much like we did with Trevor, last week on the show when Daniel Griffiths wrote about him, it's like, how can you get the floor up? Because some of the ceiling stuff is really good. And again, it highlights the deep ball. Man, he's a really good deep ball thrower, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if people talk about it enough. Do you feel like people say that a lot?
No, I don't.
And so here's part of the gymnastics for me mentally, okay? If you go back to year 1 of Trevor, this is under Urban. And he comes out, obviously, everybody's talking about it, blah, 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 all the rest. But he let it rip. Remember the pro day? He let it rip on that one. Now everybody does that pro day one. I'm not sure if he was the first one, but he's one of the first ones. He finished off the pro day with like a 67, 70-yard bomb, rolling out one way, and boom, like it was pretty cool. And so you come into that rookie season in the first game. The first game, I think he threw for 300 plus, but he threw 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. They really weren't in it against Houston. But then he came back. It was a little bit of garbage time. And so right then it started with the interceptions. Like, okay, I can't push the ball down the field all the time. It started like right away. It's like, I got to be a little bit more calculated. And then it would obviously go for the first year and a half like this. He was turning the football over probably too much, trying to push it into spots, whether it was the end zone or down the field, too much. Those are higher risk plays, which result in more turnovers. And that was a talker. So much so that it felt like he was dialing it back. And then when Doug Peterson came, you remember like the Indianapolis games are ones that really stand out because they were really proud of Trevor in the sense that he took what the defense gave them, because that's what the Gus Bradley defense does. And so he wasn't going to be able to push it down the field, maybe an occasional shot here or there. But he was very patient. And I think it was the one game he went like 22 of 24 or 26 of 28, something like that, against Indianapolis here in Jacksonville. And I think that was in year 2. And like, oh, that's good stuff. Like, yeah, that's good. Patient. So you have like those things in your mind, or at least I do, more than this guy that's pushing it down the field. I remember when they were saying, hey, don't push it down the field so much. Don't try to force it in there so much. Well, the last couple of years as this offense started to evolve, especially in year 2 under Doug, which would be 2023, which is part of this data here, in the first half of that, an 8-3 start, there are obviously a lot of good things going on. Like they were able to get the ball down to Christian Kirk a little bit more, right? Was Marvin still? Marvin wasn't part of that. Zay Jones. Mm-hmm. Would Zay have been a part of it in 23?
Yeah.
I think he was. So they were able to hit some of those shots. But I never really felt like, if I'm being honest, this is where I'm getting to, that people are like, wow, look at this guy, deep ball thrower. And some of this conversation, just to take you where I'm from, is going all the way back to Tom Brady. When I covered Tom Brady at the outset of my career, I covered his first year with the Patriots. I was in Providence. And the thing that they harped on Brady the most coming out of that season where they won the Super Bowl and everything else is his deep ball. Can't throw the deep ball. Can't throw the deep ball. Can't throw the deep ball. Well, then eventually he hooks up with like Randy Moss and as that starts to evolve. But it's just interesting to me, the greatness of Tom Brady. People were questioning the deep ball. It's funny here where Trevor Lawrence has already got that part figured out, and now you add Brian Thomas, obviously that helps these numbers, and these numbers are a little bit distorted just because of the lack of playing time because of injuries. But he's very good at the deep ball is the moral of the story. I don't know if the rest of the league talks about it because I think they talk about a lot of the things that have gone wrong with Trevor instead.
Yeah, that's the thing that immediately sticks out, but the other thing that sticks out is that he's not anything more than average at everything else. Everything 20 yards and fewer is either average or below average, and the one that's the worst category is right there in the middle, which is 10 to 20 yards over the middle, 26 of 59, 430 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 picks, and a 39.72 rating, which is really, really bad. So he's below average in categories where you look and like, well, those should be gimmies, like left side, 0 to 10 yards, those should be gimmies, and he's got two interceptions that really hurt his rating there, and no touchdowns. But this is where Liam Cohen talks about we've got to get him easier throws and we've got to take care of the gimmies. What do those do? Those will only sink down coverages so that we can have even more success over the top, right? If we can bring those corners down, if we bring safeties down, we want Brian Thomas in one-on-one situations where they can't play too high. That was the whole Mel Kiper thing, right? 25 yards, all the safeties are playing 25 yards deep. Well, you've got to be able to hit these easy ones so they'll have to come down and then you throw it over their heads, right? I think the completions across the board are pretty good other than that 10 to 20 range.
Which, by the way, is a tough range for all quarterbacks. You can tell the numbers are much lower, even that second first column, second one, right? Between 10 and 20, that's the average. Look at the average. I mean, the average isn't eye-popping.
Right.
You know what I mean? 38 of 71 is average. So that's a tough area of the field, that middle section of the field especially, but that 10 to 20 intermediate range is not easy because there's a lot of traffic in there.
Yeah. So he's about 50% in that whole category from 10 to 20 yards. So where can we expand that? And we talked a whole lot about last week him struggling to throw the ball over the middle, and the Jags almost abandoning that in its entirety, and everything was hitches and outs and everything to the sideline. Well, this kind of goes along with that. His percentage on the outside was much better than in the inside, especially, again, over the middle. And I wonder how many of these even that were over the middle were seams and stuff that's, along the hash lines and that's truly over the middle. That would be my question. That would be even incredibly more specific. But still, you can see, that 10 to 20 range, 26 to 59, 1 touchdown, 5 picks, like that is the money area where if you can open that part of the field up, then you're really making the defense defend all 53 and a half yards, right?
Well, yeah, and I think, listen, the interceptions in the middle column, right, are are a lot. That's where the mistakes. But I would imagine most quarterbacks have higher numbers in the mistake category in the middle. Just, again, traffic-wise, you don't have the boundary to play with and help you out. You don't usually have one-on-one in that spot. You got more people and bodies to contend. You got tipped balls. But here's the thing that jumps out to me, because there's been a mantra around here that Trevor doesn't throw over the middle of the field. Well, I just did some quick math. There are way more passes in the middle of the field than the outside of the field. Or at least it's close to equal distribution, but I think it's way more, actually. Now that zero to the line of scrimmage to the 10-yard game, the numbers are really high.
That's that Evan Ingram 5-yard hit.
That is.
On every first down.
It is, but it's still, I guess, still gets credit the middle field. What people are they want more of that 10 to 20, right?
Yeah.
And maybe even down the field. But, I mean, is it a little bit of a my whiteboard narrative? Is it a little exaggerated?
Sure.
I think this is a little bit of proof that it's exaggerated. Now, his success, this is also why you might stay away from it. If you're not very good at it, you stay away from it. Right. If you're having problems, you stay away from it. If you're trying to eliminate mistakes, which they were trying to do, especially with Doug, you stay away from it. So, I mean, just look at that. My eyes are bad. 59 attempts, right? Between 10 and 20 and 29 attempts down the field. Mm-hmm. So out of 88 attempts, 9 interceptions. That's 1 every 9 passes, 1 every 10 passes. Yeah, that's something to avoid.
Yeah.
So will they accentuate it in Liam Cohen's offense, or will they avoid it in Liam Cohen's offense? I think that's debatable on which way they'll go. A lot more on this topic. There's still a lot more to break down here on Trevor Lawrence, but I think it's interesting. You're right, Daniel Griffiths. We are going to have fun with this one. You can see the full article on actionsportsjacks.com, by the way, and more of our conversation coming up. Plus, we'll check in with the NHRA Gator Nationals at Gainesville Raceway this weekend. We got a lot of stuff happening in town leading right up to the Players' Championship next week, so fun times here in the River City in the early stages of March. UCF beats Florida last night, so the Gators now have lost 2 in a row.
Own them.
This is amazing to me. They've beaten the Gators 6 straight times. Now, listen, they're midweek games, but over, whatever stretch that is of time, I can't imagine. UCF's a good program, by the way. So, for them to beat the Gators is not surprising. But to beat them 6 straight times, there's nobody in the country that's beaten Florida 6 straight times in baseball.
Yes.
I can't imagine, right?
Yeah.
I don't even have to look that one up. We're all pretty wild. Knights have their number. It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now, the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar. Grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic. He's got some exciting news heading into 2025 as well. Christian Kirk. It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jax Beach, which many of you have, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield, and now open in Jax Beach on Penman Road.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years, and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Yeah! Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.
The Tom Bush family of dealerships, they've been serving customers in the Jacksonville area for 55 years. They've been your go-to spot to get and stay on the road since 1970, and that's still the case here in 2025 and beyond, even if the cars have changed just a little bit. Check out the sleek line of vehicles of the future. That's right, electric vehicles. Tom Bush offers a full lineup of reliable electric cars with state-of-the-art service facilities. Like the new VinFast, Tom Bush is among the first dealers in the entire country to offer the VinFast, and let me tell you, this thing is sweet. The good folks at Tom Bush have all the info on charging, service, tax credits, and everything you need to keep your EV running smoothly. BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, Mini, and the newly offered VinFast. There's something for everyone at the Tom Bush family of dealerships. Ready to join the Tom Bush family? Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory online at tombush.com.
I'm ready to show my hand. Ready to take a stand. Wait on a sign above, and I am ready, ready. 'Cause I just live for the game. 'Cause I just live for the game. 'Cause I just live for the game.
For 60 years, the Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet has provided competitive events, and we're also happy to provide scholarship opportunities too. Join us for the annual Hall of Fame Gala March 13th at the Potter's House and at the James Day Middle School Meet at UNF March 14th.
There they go.
And don't forget the annual Bob Hayes Track and Field Meet at UNF Saturday, March 15th. Get tickets and info at bhitm22.org. For vendors and partnerships, call 904-222-1075.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
How about the money for Saquon Barkley? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Does that change the game for running backs? And nice job by the Philadelphia Eagles paying their guy who helped them win a Super Bowl. $20 million a year for a running back. That's notable now because money's crazy in the NFL, but it hasn't been crazy for running backs. It is now for Saquon Barkley. Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show. Brent Martineau Austen Lane out in Wisconsin today will join us back in just a couple of moments. Jason Hamby in the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network studios here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. You can find us at actionsportsjax.com, Action News Jax app, Action News Jax now on your smart TV, Roku, Google TV, Apple TV. You got it wherever you get us. Thanks for hanging out with us. And a good place to hang out this week is in Gainesville, the Gainesville Raceway. And, of course, the NHRA Gator Nationals are back. Fan Fest starts tonight in Gainesville, and that kicks off a full week that will conclude on Sunday at the Gator Nationals. And we welcome in right now Ida Zetterström, who is the driver of the JCM Racing Top Fuel Dragster. And good to have her along with us and making her debut there in Gainesville at the famed Raceway as she just joined the ranks here in the NHRA Series last year at the tail end. Are you looking forward to what's about to happen this week in Gainesville?
Absolutely. It's fantastic to kick off the season here. This was actually the first race I ever been to, the first NHRA race, so to say, was here in Gainesville. And I've never raced there myself, but I've been here quite a few times. And it's very cool to be able to, for the first time for me, race here in Gainesville. So it's going to be awesome.
Ida, you got to give us a little bit of a history lesson here. Obviously, we know Gainesville Raceway, we know NHRA, the Gator Nationals, and all about it in this area and in the United States, if you will. But I wasn't as familiar as you're from Finland, and obviously you got your start there in that area and overseas. Is it a big deal over there as well as it is here in the United States?
Yes, I'm born in Sweden, grew up half time in Sweden, half time in Finland, so to say. And especially in Sweden, where I started when I was 8 years old. We have a really big car culture in Sweden, and not just, drag racing, but American cars in general. A lot of, Friday night cruisings and a lot of just a love for the motorsport and for American cars. So I grew up with that, and that being a big part of my life. And then there is a lot of drag strips actually in Sweden, not as many that actually can handle top fuel and are the same caliber as Gainesville is over here, but tracks where you can go with your sportsman cars and race. And we actually have a lot of active racers. And growing up and racing throughout the ranks, I raced junior dragster, and then I raced super comp dragster, and then I did race bikes for quite a few years. And then moving up to top fuel in 2021, going around in Europe and seeing, all the racetracks over there, all the fans. It's actually very cool to see how big that community is. We don't have as many races as over here, and we do not have as many racers either. Like the classes aren't as stacked as they are over here, but we can easily see between 30 and 70,000 people on events as far as fan goes. So that goes to show that there's a big love for the sport over in Europe too. And actually, the Gainesville race here is one of the races where you will see the most Europeans in the crowd, because obviously it's so cold over where we are at, and we want to come over here and see the season kick off. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Swedish, Finnish, and overall European people in the crowd this weekend.
Well, I'm sure you've helped that out as well. And you're right, it's a bucket lister. If you haven't been, we tell people all the time how much you know about, the NHRA series. You got to get to Gainesville. It's a cool experience just to see it live and in action, 330 plus miles an hour. We'll do that for you. You mentioned some of those other things. You're riding motorcycles. You're into muscle cars, jet skiing, dirt bikes. Do you always have this need for action sports or a need for speed? I mean, is that just in your blood?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I did grow up at the racetrack. I was 3 weeks old when I was at the track, but I can say so was my sister, and she did not get the love for speed and the same bug that I got. So it just goes to show that obviously that's how I got introduced to the sport. And starting off, it was obviously that need for adrenaline, that need for going fast. That was what I loved the most. But I will say that throughout the years, I love the sport so much for what it is, with being such a team sport, such a team effort. The actual, you're chasing perfection out here. You lose by thousands and you win by thousands. Like, that's the margin out here. And I have a very winning mentality. And for me, I get my absolute biggest adrenaline kicks from winning and not from actually driving the car in 330 miles per hour. So obviously it's a mix of all these good things, but drag racing in itself, just like you say, you need to come out and see it, because it's something that you feel like it's an experience. You can love it watching it on TV and you see how competitive it is, but when you actually go there and you feel the rattle from the 12,000 horsepower cars going down track, and it actually feels like a mini earthquake hitting you when they're going past, that you can't describe that to someone in any other way than it just has to be experienced.
You're right. It is unbelievable. You do feel it. You said it perfectly. You've got to feel that. So I always ask when we do interviews like this, what do you feel, as you're in the seat of it, or what do you feel as you're getting ready to go? Because for 3 seconds, obviously doesn't last too long. But what's that like? Can you take us through that experience? And now that you've done it a lot, but are there like superstitions before? Is there anything that you do and feel as sitting in that car that people can't feel, obviously?
Well, obviously, some people are more superstitious than others. Personally, I am not at all, but I do believe in routines and, doing things the same way all the time, because it's more of a way to not miss anything and be able to strive for that good results. If it's a qualifying run or a test run, I do not have any nerves. That is usually the part where you're very calm getting into the car and just getting ready for everything. But if it's race day, I'm very nervous, because for me, the actual racing part is where it's at. And you so desperately want to win. And those nerves are not something that's the part of the sport I don't like, having that feeling. But obviously being in the car, it's so cool, because no matter how nervous you are or how chaotic it may seem from the outside, I feel very calm once we start that car up and you sit in there and you just do your thing. When you're actually in the car, we do experience a lot of G forces. We leave with about 5-6 Gs, and it ramps up to about 7 Gs, and we have almost negative 7 Gs when we pull the parachutes on when we're actually slowing down in shutdown area. So it's a big variation there, and our body takes a lot of that. But I actually don't think about it. I can't really feel it when you're in there, because you're so focused on what the car is doing, taking in all the information basically that the car is telling you, because we're doing this in well over 330 miles per hour, and it's only a matter of, let's say, 3.7 seconds. So you can't be thinking about how should I steer this car? What is my next move going to be? It's just about feeling what the car wants and what it's going to do, and then instinctively just act upon it and make sure that you get that car going straight down the track and staying in your groove and actually doing everything the way you should when you're in the car. So for me, the focus is on executing, doing all of that. So you can't really take it in the same way as you would if you're, for example, on a roller coaster, where you can actually feel that speed because someone else is in control. But for us as a driver, you're the one in control, and the actual feeling of speed feels like it's less when you have that much to do in that short amount of time.
That's wild. My back hurts just you talking about all those G's right there. I'm clenched up just even here on the interview part of it. Ida Zetterström with us, driver of the JCM Racing Top Fuel Dragster. And by the way, this is a sport that women have been involved in for a long time now. And I think we've also reached a state or an age in, racing, but other sports that it's not as eye-popping like when a woman driver or woman athlete is doing something like this, but it's still notable. And your team is an all-female team. So how much is this just normal now, a female racing in this sport, or being a part of kind of any elite sport that was always known as kind of a male sport? And how much pride is there having an all-female team with the drivers on your squad?
So in drag racing, especially for me growing up in the sport, it's never been a thing that there's guys or girls racing together and at the exact same the same level. There's no so to say like handicaps or separations. We all race together at the same stage. And for me, that's how we've done it since junior dragster. So even when I was 8 years old, lining up against a guy or against a girl, it didn't matter. And I think that that's something that this sport has been so incredibly good at, just never really making any fuss about it. And it's from the start in junior all the way up through the pro ranks. The girls are not just competing. The girls are out here, winning, setting records, winning championships, out here dominating the same way that the guys are. So I think that in that regard, there's nothing strange about being a girl in this class or in this sport. Obviously, we do have a lot of fans coming through the pits that basically might not have seen drag racing in the same way that we have, grown up with it and knowing that it's not a big deal. And you often see them react the way where it's, oh my God, there's a girl driving, and they find it really cool. And to me, that usually tells me that they might be their first time at the drag race, or they might not, know how big that is over here. And I think that's very cool to see. And for us being the first ever all-female nitro team, it was very cool because it happened organically. It was not something we were seeking out to be. It was just, that's how the card lined up. And we have a funny car and a dragster. It's me and Alexis de Georgia. We are both drivers that have raced for a long time. We have a lot with us coming in with both championships and wins and records from the past, and we have our own merits. And when we kind of realized it was actually the first time ever it was an all-female nitro team, we found that really cool. Just being two, badass women that love the sport of drag racing, and being able to have a chance at doubling up on Sunday and having two girls from the same team in the winner's circle in funny car and nitro. I think that's going to be a goal of ours, obviously, and something that's really cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. That's cool that it's organic, because you certainly could force that, I guess, if you wanted to be a team owner and try that from a promotional standpoint. But cool to hear that, how organic it was. You were named Best New Talent after the rookie season last year. Yeah, I think you only had 8 events out of the 20-race circuit. What did you learn from those 8 that now you take here into what will be a full year for you here in the NHRA circuit?
Yeah, that's very true. We had 8 races, and I feel like we started at the hardest part of the year. We came in right before the so-called countdown starts, and that's basically, to just put it easy, that's where everybody got their shit together. Like, they have had 12 races to figure everything out, and everything can be both, the car, the driver, the tune-up, the driver's reaction times get better. Everybody kind of steps everything up for the championship hunt. So it's a hard part of the season to come in as a driver, and that's something that I had to kind of learn, so to say, to get into that like that is a crucial part of the year. We felt like we were constantly improving, but we were always a little bit behind the others from them having had that time, and we hadn't had as much seat time, as much testing in our car as everybody else did. The thing we did learn was that we can run with the others. I mean, we did qualify for every race. We didn't have a single did not qualify. And that itself is big right now, because there's so many good cars out here that when you see a field of 20 cars, you have no idea which cars won't qualify. It could be a world champion. It could be, the past race winner. It's just that tough out here. And we have seen drivers winning from basically every position of the ladder on Sunday, where we have, doesn't matter if you were qualified 13th or if you were qualified first. And that was a good thing for us. We did pick up some round wins. Me as a driver, I feel like I've grown into the car and grown into the team, because obviously the more seat time you get, the more time with the car, the better you get. I feel like I'm not 100% there yet either. I still need more time with this car to figure out exactly what it wants to be on the same level that I've been at in the past with previous rides that I've raced. But I feel like what we did last year was kind of gaining momentum for this season. We were able to work together great as a team to find those tune-ups that we needed, and also figure out what we wanted to change for this year. We did go to preseason test just like a week and a half ago here in Gainesville, and we saw some really good improvement on new things that we were trying. So that's something that feels very good for us coming into this new season. I will say patience also. I did have to learn patience, because I had to wait for like 9 months before I got in the car almost. And that itself is kind of hard, especially when you have your teammate racing and everybody's out here. And I did attend every NHRA event, even though I wasn't in the car. And I think for this year, since at the moment, we do not have a full schedule this year. We have a 10 race schedule as it is right now, and looking for more partners to be able to run the full season for this year and upcoming seasons. And again, I need to practice my patience, because obviously I want to be out here chasing championships. And right now we're out here chasing wins and, personal bests, but we're also chasing money. That's a big part of it for us right now.
Yeah, a little bit of baby steps in getting it that way, but big steps already taken by Ida Zetterström here joining us on the Brent Austen Show. Okay, we'll let you run, but I just had this question for you. Your career best speed I have is 334.32 miles per hour. What do you know, or do you think you know, like what it will take to win the Gator Nationals this week?
Honestly, are you thinking time-wise?
Yeah, time-wise, speed-wise. Like, do you kind of have a good feel for that? Like, okay, I got to get to most likely this number if I want to win?
Well, it will depend a lot on the weather and the track, because this is one of the tracks that when the weather is really great, then when the weather condition is perfect, this is a track where you can see new world record being set. And we have seen it in the past. So this could either be a track where you will see multiple 360 runs being made and well over 335, So you you can have a track that is that way, but it all will come down to the weather conditions. So I wouldn't want to say too much on that, but I really hope that we can be able to pull up a 360 this year, this race, because that would be a huge personal best for us. We're talking time then, 3.6 seconds. So that is like a big goal for us, and I definitely think that you will see that, and that's what it's going to take to be in here. But also, to be honest, all the cars that are out here this year that are entered for this weekend have the potential to pick up this race. And depending on how tricky the weather conditions can be, you can see cars running in the 3.6s on Sunday and winning races, or you can see them running in maybe the high 3.7s and still win races. It will all come down to getting down track, being consistent, being good on the tree as a driver, and having it all together with your team.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, like today, it's interesting you bring up the weather, because today here in Jacksonville, the wind is crazy. And I don't know what the wind's supposed to do the rest of the week, but the wind is, so I guess it would just totally depend on which way it's blowing, whether that could impact some of those times and the miles per hour and everything else on there. Ida Zetterström, driver of the JCM Racing Top Fuel Dragster, good luck in the debut at the NHRA Gator Nationals in Gainesville. We'll keep an eye on you all week. I hope you have fun.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I think we will.
Thank you. Good to learn more about Ida Zetterström. And again, check out NHRA.com. There's a full schedule now if you're not familiar with this. And I always tell the story. We did a promotion with our TV side. And so Hicken and I don't know if I ever told you this, Amby, Hicken and I go down to the Gainesville Raceway. Mm-hmm. And like it's as things are starting, it's like preliminary qualifying stuff, and all we really know is that we're going to be like doing an exhibition race against each other.
Okay.
Right? But I don't get a lot of details. I'm just like, do they mean like we're going to be like all those things that you just said, right? Or thinking. Mm-hmm. We're thinking, but we really don't know. Like nobody really said anything to us. I don't know if we just didn't ask or whatever. So then we kind of start figuring out, we get a little bit more. But in your mind to go away, I'm like, are we going like that fast? Mm-hmm. Because should we be going that fast? Are we going to get in one of those things? And we get there and they tell us everything's going on. We're in like a Toyota Camry, which must have been part of the promotion. And so we're racing. So like we went down the raceway though in a Toyota Camry. We could get it to like 80 miles an hour. Like that's it. But it does go. Like it's just such a unique experience because we've actually been on track at Daytona. They've taken us for rides at like 170 miles an hour before, like on the high banks. Totally different experience this one is. And this is all about the jump. Now, they say I cheated. I won, but they gave me the yellow, or I went on the yellow instead of the green. So I jumped the gun.
Colorblind, maybe.
But I just say, they don't ask you that. That's like if you're golfing and you shoot a 78, they don't ask you what tees you played. I just know I beat Hicken.
Brent, can we get Ida, like, can we sponsor her? Like, obviously, we're not going to sponsor her for a race because we don't have that type of money. You do. We don't. But can we buy, like, I don't know, a quarter gallon of a tank and just say, like, hey, this quarter of the gallon of the tank is from the Brent and Austen show. So, like, like 3 feet that she travels in a race. Like, hey, that was us. That was our doing right there. Yeah.
She's pretty cool.
She's cool.
I did not know that. You know that part of the world very well, Scandinavian countries. And she's from Sweden, initially lives in Finland. And I really, like, that was one of the first questions I asked her because I did not know, like, drag racing is a thing in other parts. Like, like, a lot of other racing is certainly a thing in other sports. You see it, you hear about it, you watch it. I don't know if I've ever really... Of course, I'm not locked into this all the time, like covering on a week-to-week basis, but I didn't realize that. But it is bigger in the States is what she ended up saying. Like, that's why she comes here. It's like a lot of different sports, right? Trying to get to the peak level is right here in the States. And so, again, they've got racing starts tomorrow. Check it out. If you haven't been, it really is cool. Like, everything she says about feeling that, you can feel it, man. And it's nothing like it.
She spoke on it, man, and we told the story before when we had Ron Capps on the show a couple years back. I don't think I've ever really been to a sport, Brent, where like, like I've been to rodeos, so I've seen bull riding and everything. I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty gnarly. We had a bull rider on, a couple weeks ago, but like sitting, or I guess standing on like where they start, the starting line, behind the pits and everything. I got all the access. Ron hooked me up, and seeing him take off and just literally experiencing it with your like Ida said, your body, of just what that feels like. It's the craziest experience, because it feels like you're like in a wind tunnel essentially, and it's like it affects you. I don't say it hurts, but it's just like, dude, it's like an earthquake almost. And then you think about what you feel, and then you're like, oh, well, there's somebody behind the wheel driving that experience. Like, what are they feeling? You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's a crazy scene, and yeah, it may look cool on TV, but until you see it in person, until you hear how loud it is, until you can actually see for your own two eyes of how fast they go in person, man, you just don't know.
It's one of the meccas of the sport too, right there in Gainesville. So it's right down the road. Seriously, just like Daytona 500, things like, it's that big in this racing world. So if you can get a chance to get out there this week, make sure you do it. Check out more on NHRA.com. You get the full schedule, and root for Ida. By the way, speaking of Ron Capps, he'll join the show tomorrow. Have you ever experienced anything where you feel the G-force stuff and like what she's talking about? You guys ever feel that? You guys ever do anything that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I went like 120 miles. Yeah, I've been in roller coasters for sure.
Yeah, like actually, if you go really fast, even in a car, like if you've got like a Porsche or something like that, you can feel some of that, right? Where you're getting up to a top speed illegally on the road, but you can actually feel it.
I've been 120 on a Wisconsin back road one time, but like that, nothing crazy.
But I don't think if you've done like 120 like in a Nissan Altima, I think it's different than doing it even in like a Porsche, because you get there so quickly. You know what I mean? And so I think that's part of it. I don't advise going 120 anywhere on a back road in Wisconsin or here in Jacksonville. Yeah. But roller coaster, you said it. Roller coaster Hamby does have a little bit of that. You feel it for like a second.
All, though, yeah.
My one of my cousins around central Wisconsin, he ended up racing car. It was just like he raced like Mustangs and Camaros and stuff at like road tracks, but he had a really nice, I think it was a Camaro, and like that was probably like the close I've been to, like, I've been in Blaine Gabbert's Porsche Panamera or whatever. No, it's still a bit of a flex, to be honest. So I've been in that one before, but like being in my cousin as a kid, I was in my cousin's Camaro, and it was all souped up, and I just remember being like, I was probably in first, second grade, and like, how they have the hood scoops where you can't really see, like if you're small, you can't. Yeah. So I remember like I can't even see the road. All I can see is like the hood scoop, and I remember probably doing at statute of limitations, probably doing like 100 something, and like doing like donuts and everything in the back roads. And I remember seeing like I can't even see where we're going, so like I'm at his mercy right now. Like that was kind of trippy.
I will tell you, I've done the jet thing. When the air show comes to town, it wasn't Blue Angels, but it was like what I always forget the name of the jet, but we did 5 Gs, and I always tell this is the only thing I remember about doing that. Well, 2 things: I didn't throw up or pass out, which they tried to get me to do. So banner, I should get a badge for that.
What an athlete.
Seriously, my John O'Connor used to work here at Action News Jax, because I'm not like a roller coaster guy. And when they asked me to do it, I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. He's like, dude, you got to do it. He's like, I passed out and threw up, and it was the best thing I've ever done.
well, Brent, like, take us through it, man, because I'm sure a lot of people in the stream have no idea. Like, I have no idea. Like, is it like, does it hurt your body?
No,
like,
so that's what I was going to. Like? That's what I was going to get into. When you go 5 Gs like that we did that time, I think it was at least 5. First of all, you had to go get like checked out. You had to do a physical and all that stuff before you even went on this thing. And of course, I had never done anything like this. And they try to prep you. And my back, like that's what I said that to Ida. My back felt like it was going to snap. That's what I remember. I was like, as you're approaching that and going up through that, it's like I literally thought my spine was just going to like snap. Like that's what I can still feel it. Like I can remember it. And then it kind of levels out though. Like you feel, I don't know if it's because you relax or you figure it out. But it's like crazy. Like those guys that do that for a living, to get to there and get their bodies to be able to manipulate that, and Ida, and that is nuts now, because I've experienced it and as an amateur experiencing it one time.
Dude.
It was absolutely insane. But that's the best way I can describe it. I literally felt like my body was getting compressed to the point where like I really was like, this is not good. This cannot be healthy. Like it cannot be healthy. And then it kind of levels out. And then so the whole deal thing is like the whole thing on throw. I don't know where the throwing up part comes in as much. But I figured I would do that because I go down a hill like in my car and my stomach gets a little like churny. Like it's not good. I'm a wuss when it comes to that stuff. Now I'll go on roller coasters because Steph makes me and I got to do it, but I hate it. So there was a little bit of that feeling, but I never really thought I was going to throw up. I think they try to get you to pass out. Like we were coming in for the landing. And as you're coming in for the landing, I think the pass out part, it was like, about to touch down. Nope. Vroom, straight up.
Oh, you got to do.
So all the blood. And I didn't pass out. It was amazing. Like I thought I'd either pass out, throw up, or my spine would snap, and none of it happened.
Brent's a G, man.
It never happened.
Brent's A.
The
Brent's
coolest
a G on
thing.
that.
It was the coolest thing like I've ever done.
I would have. Because like if I think we're gonna land, like okay, thank God it's over, and then they bring me back up. Oh, dude, I'm going to coma. Like I'm like, nope, that's it. I'm done. See ya. Like I can't imagine, man.
It was unreal.
Would you go skydiving?
I would. Here's the thing. Here's what I figured out, which is really a weird deal. Like I don't think about trying to do like anything crazy like that or skydiving or anything, but if you said that I was going to do it for like TV or something, I'll do it. Like, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why. And I'm not, so I scaled down, I did the Boy Scouts thing where you scale down the Wells Fargo building in Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's a Boy Scout thing?
Yeah, the Boy Scout does it every year where they do a fundraiser.
Okay.
And so you scale down the building. And so they were like, hey, you want to do it? I'm like, no, not really. Like, okay, well, we're going to take it live and stuff. I was like, fine.
Sold.
So, like, I did that. And, like, so I'm live in the morning show the whole time, the whole setup doing that's coming down the building. I was not flying down the building. You could tell I was not Spider-Man, okay? Like, I was going down pretty slow. But my whole thought was like this. It's like, listen, this is either going to be a fun experience. And really, would they sign me up for this if it wasn't really that safe? They've done this a lot. But if it goes bad, ratings. We're going bad on live TV, baby.
Ratings, baby, let's go.
Like, that's what we're doing. So you can
generational ratings, Brent. Generational.
Like, apparently, like Palak is really good, like skydiving. They've got good skydiving down there. I think Weber might have done it. I have no desire to do it. But again, if like you want, like you could probably talk me into doing it. But I just won't go do it and sign up for anything like that. But I've done some wacky things now that I think about it that I wouldn't have said I'd do, you know, and the scaling, the rappelling, and the jet, but the jet thing was incredible. Well, like I'd do that
Brent,
again.
And I want to ask you this, man, because like I mean, you know, obviously I've had 5G on my phone for a while, and that's been a cool experience. But that's really the only 5G that I know. But like when you landed and like you got off the plane, like. Were you like? Did it take a while to adjust again? Like, because like you know, like if you go like on, because if you go like on a trampoline, right, and you bounce a trampoline for a while, like you go to trampoline park, and then you like try to jump on like the ground again, like it's like it takes a while for your body to adapt. Like, did life without 5G take a while to adapt again?
Yeah, I don't remember it doing that, but I think by the time you like, I can't fully say that. I don't think you're really that disoriented. And when we landed, this was years ago now, by the way, the kids were like four or five, and because they were out there. You know, when you land, I think it takes a little bit to get out of the seat, you know, by the time you taxi and everything else. And so my guess is any kind of disorientation kind of goes away during that time. Would be my guess, but I don't really remember it. I'll tell you one more story about that since we're on it. I actually have video. I should get the video. I did a video. You guys will love this. Just so corny me, but it was We had spent like the day there. We waited a long time to do it, but it was so awesome because we got to see the Blue Angels rehearse. They rehearse like it's a real show. It was awesome. The whole thing was really cool. So much appreciation and respect for what those guys do after that. I mean, I did not have that level of appreciation and respect, and I got it like that day. And so, but I put like this whole video together, like 4 minutes of Steph was taking pictures and whatever else we had of like, and it's the Top Gun music, of course. It has to be, right? It ain't Delphonic. I already did it, man. I already did it. I got the Top Gun music in there. But you know the one thing that sucks about that experience is that today it would be so much better because of the phones and everything. Like even in the last like 14 years, the quality of what you've been able to do. I don't think like GoPro wasn't a thing then. So I don't think I even had that. I don't believe I had that. So I think it was just whatever pictures and video we had. It might have been like a camcorder. Yeah. Well, and I wasn't taking that in. But like now you probably find a way to kind of get the camera phone, right? Like strapped to you or whatever. Or you'd have it like looking back at you as you're about to pass out. And you're like, oh crap. Like the whole thing was cool. One last thing about it. So I know I want to do this for a living, what we're doing now since I was like 12 years old. So I always share this story. Part of that day, one of the guys, it was great. I really wish I remember his name, but his son played like high school football. And I was working on the base there and kind of helped setting up this whole day. And so he kind of knew us from the Friday Night Blitz show. Mm-hmm. And so he was cool. We were talking. He's like, hey, let's since you guys have waited so long, we'll take you out to the front of the runway. And the Blue Angels are going to practice. And, dude, it was like the greatest thing ever. We are out at the front of that runway, and the Blue Angels, as they take off for practice, go right over. And I was like, if I had seen that when I was like 12 years old, I'd have wanted to done that. Like, that's what I always say. Like, I would have wanted to done that. Like that. I still say that. I tried like heck. My grandfather tried like heck to get me to go be. He's like, you should be like a pilot, a fighter pilot. Like he was in the war and he. I didn't really know any of that stuff. It never really intrigued me to that degree. But he would always say something like that. And when I saw that with the Blue Angels, I was like, hey, Ty, I think you should go do this. I was like, I think you'd be good at this. This would be great. I mean, it's just, what a cool world that I really don't know a part of, you know?
Yeah. But no, man, you're crazy because, you know, I can go play 18 on a golf course. I can go for a walk in a cul-de-sac. I'm never going to get in a plane and go 5Gs, man. Like, I can't do it. Like, I already know it wouldn't be good for me. Like, I can't handle the Tower of Terror anymore with my son.
Really? So you don't like that stuff?
No, I loved it as a kid, and then I think I told this story before, but I took my son to Disney. Well, we as a family went to Disney World, and this is when I didn't want to wear the matching T-shirts, which I didn't. Yep. So I protested and everything, and I won that protest. Right? We're gonna make not wearing matching T-shirts great again, and I did that. And we go to Tower of Terror, and I've been on there a million times since I was a kid. I loved it. I embraced it. Dark free fall. Let's go. And for whatever reason, man, I just think with my age now and everything, where the first drop a couple years ago, I did not feel good. And it got to the point like where it went back up again, where I'm in like the fetal position and I'm trying to talk to God, and we don't really have a good relationship. I haven't talked to God in a long time. I kind of lost his number, I feel like. But dude, I found his number real quick, man, because I was sitting there like this and with hands folded. Ronan's like, "Oh, this is the best. Dad, you okay?" I'm like, "Don't touch me right now, man. Just let me do my own thing." And that was my Tower of Terror experience. So like, I can't do roller coasters anymore. I can't do Tower of Terror. I can't even do like rides where it's like 3D, like the screen moves and it vibrates.
The simulate. So that one at Disney is a tough one though.
Oh yeah.
That one where if you go in the advanced one. Yeah, that's
Star
like
Wars one, Brett?
I think it's a Star Wars one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and even I'm like, oh, certainly I can just sit through a chair that shakes with a screen. Nope. Couldn't do that either, man. Once again, just kind of, had to go to my dial-up, find God a little bit, talk to him, get me through it. But
what is it?
Yeah.
What would you do? What is the is skydiving like kind of the craziest thing like us average folks can do? Like, from a thrill standpoint, like people cliff jump, do that.
See, that's
like that.
to me,
You ever
that's
see some of those
crazier,
cliff jumping videos? Like that's nuts.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather skydive than cliff jump.
I think so too.
At least you're with somebody when you.
At least I got a freaking parachute.
Yeah, no one's gonna hold your hand and like tie you to your back when you're cliff jumping. You're on your own. Good luck.
Yeah.
If I land on a fish, it's gonna be bad news.
Especially a scaly one. Yeah.
Ooh, Stingray, Steve Irwin style. Ooh.
Well, and by the way, if you don't do it right, I think like in the cliff diving where like you can like break your arms and stuff, right? If you land a certain way.
You have to land properly.
Not that you can, by the way, you can break things too, skydiving is my guess. And I'm just kind of wondering like what is the craziest thrill kind of thing you can do?
You know what? I think running with the bulls, depending how you do it.
So you can do that, right? You can actually sign up and do that.
Dude, Brent, anybody can go to Spain and run with the bulls.
Yeah, that seems crazy.
We should do the show from there on the road.
Yes. I wonder how many. I wonder how many
Liam
people.
Cohen's press conference and we're running from bulls.
I wonder how many people have said that they've run with the bulls. It's the greatest, like, fish story, if you will, right? Said I've run with the bulls, and they like peeked around the corner, took two steps, turned around, and said, "Ran with the bulls."
On the gate, like just hanging by the gate up above the bulls. Saying,
Brent, there's a much better option than running with the bulls that's happening right now.
What is that? Oh, the Iditarod has started.
Are you in?
You are. Yeah, well, no.
He's got the subscription.
I think he's run out.
I did not renew my subscription this year. That's a great shop, by the way. Look at those pretty dogs.
It started cool. Over the weekend.
Did. Hey, listen, you have come a long way on this show, Hamby. You hadn't even heard of the damn Iditarod a year ago.
No idea. Not a clue.
You're well educated.
I thought it was a math equation of some kind.
It actually sounds like one. It really does. Hey, we're way late on a break. Let's get back to Trevor Lawrence. I want to get your thoughts. We did. Daniel Griffiths was writing about him, the different areas of the field where he's good, not so good. But really, I guess the story is where are these going to be accentuated for the Liam Cohen offense? You know, we started the show talking about offensive linemen. I mean, the bottom line is everything falls into place if you elevate the play of Trevor Lawrence, if you get more consistency out of Trevor Lawrence. And try to tap into that talent. Whether it gets to the full ceiling, just get closer to the ceiling. So how do they do it schematically, especially considering what he's looked like throwing the football the last couple of years in certain areas of the field? The Iditarod. We won't take you live looks to the Iditarod. I'm not spending $50 this year on the Iditarod subscription like I did a year ago, although it was well worth it. I watched the Iditarod quite a bit last year. And I would not do that because I don't like to be that cold. Those dudes are insane.
Mm-hmm. There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to. And they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans. And I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org so you can just be yourself.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jag Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, you can take 10% off any water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
So that's a wide receiver market, huh? Now Godwin, what's the latest on him? Is he going to go end up back in Tampa or no? Hit the free agent market? Diggs, I kind of forgot about Diggs. Obviously, Devontae Adams, too. Where are we at on these guys? Like, did any of these guys do anything for you?
It's hard to say, right? Because coming off serious injuries with Godwin and Diggs, Allen's been a little banged up.
And he's definitely getting older, right?
Of his career, yeah. Who's 18? That's Cooper? Amari Cooper?
Yeah, that was Amari Cooper, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then you got Devontae Adams, who more than likely is going to go to New York with Aaron Rodgers and play for the Giants because they're going to pull the trigger on that giant mistake. So I can't wait to see how that turns out.
I mean, why do they always have to follow each other around? It's getting kind of weird.
I don't know,
like it's just goofy. Well, it's like, what is this, 7th grade?
Especially like, hey, Giants, you let Saquon go, and I feel like you kind of need to have a sure thing here, like try to rebuild. I feel like the last thing you want to do for your city, for your franchise, is to bring in Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. But I don't know, man.
Yeah. Speaking of Saquon,
it's bigger than that, though. It's taken the seconds of the crosstown team. You can't do that.
No, of course. I know.
Yeah, they are in such a pickle, though, the Giants, because they're so up against it and they're not going to be able to figure out the quarterback spot. They don't have time. They don't have the runway, so they got to try to get a quick fix with something. And I guess that's the only way to go.
Let me ask you guys this.
They seem kind of rudderless, as people like to say.
Sam Darnold or Aaron Rodgers for the Giants?
Darnold.
I actually think, given the situation that they are in right now, I think I would pick Rodgers.
Yeah, I almost lean a little towards Rodgers too. It's definitely more risk reward, I think. I think Sam Darnold gives you a safer floor. But once again, like, do you have, I don't know, and maybe it's wishful thinking with Aaron Rodgers, but like I feel like Rodgers, if he's healthy, if he's mentally there, can maybe still elevate a team. I feel like Darnold maybe needs like the right offense, the right coach, the right play caller, all this stuff to be successful. You know?
And you're looking at, if you sign Darnold, let's just say you sign him to like a 3-year deal, right? So he's your guy for 3 years. Well, these guys don't have 3 years. They've got like right now. So it can't work a little bit and then work next year better. Like, that's not it. So that's really why I lean toward Rodgers. And I guess there is still a little bit of doubt, if we're being honest, in the whole Darnold thing. Although I think Baker Mayfield is a good example. Mayfield, who has had multiple offensive coordinators, has still been able to deliver and get better. And we kind of wondered, okay, was that maybe just a little bit of a blip? And now, he just had a really nice year. Well, he's been able to back it up. So maybe Darnold could do the same.
Does it make you a little nervous though? Because like obviously in New York, like we get why it didn't work with Aaron Rodgers. It just, he gets hurt his first year and then it was just a dumpster fire. Coaches get fired and everything. Does it make you kind of raise your eyebrows a little bit, knowing that the Vikings, who had a hell of a season, exceeded every single expectation, had a great offense, decided to go, you know what, Darnold, like, we appreciate you, but we're not probably going to bring you back. We're not going to franchise tag you. We're going to go with a second-year quarterback now that we've never even seen play in a meaningful game before. Like, does that make you a little nervous then, if you're a Sam Darnold believer?
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
I mean,
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does. So, yeah, I think it's a hard position to be in because it's hard to set a full, plan. One thing I would say about Jacksonville over the years, outside of 2020, they really have had at least a plan to try to get it right. From even 13 on, what they did, 17 on. They obviously signed Blake, and in hindsight, you wouldn't have done that, but that was part of the plan. And then I'd say 2020 is because they were giving the reins to Gardner, but it really felt like they were just hanging on to Doug and Dave another year and everything else, right? It wasn't like, hey, this is where we're going. This is going to turn it. This is our guy. It was like, let's give him a shot, kind of like the Raiders just did, and kind of what's happened really with Minshew's career. It didn't feel like, hey, we're going to be here in 3 years too.
We were, at least I can speak for myself, but I think I speak for a lot of people when I say, I think we were excited because Gardner was like that folk hero and everything, but like our expectations weren't like, we're going to the Super Bowl, we're going on a playoff run. Our expectations were, hey, well, let's see what he has, let's see what he can actually do and then kind of make a fair assessment. At least that's how I felt about it.
All right. Hey, let's get to the Trevor stuff. How much can this coaching staff elevate the numbers? And Hamby, if you can put them back up when you get a chance. Daniel Griffiths shared this graphic he writes about at actionsportsjacks.com. And now he's got 2 hours out of this topic. Well, parts of 2 different hours here on the Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. We broke this down earlier. We talked about how good of a deep ball thrower that Trevor is. We also talked about the middle of the field, Austin. I think on my narrative whiteboard that it said he never throws to the middle of the field, I think is not correct because there are more attempts actually at the middle of the field than I think the other sides of this graph or table or graphic or whatever we're talking about. But it obviously is high risk too, because you look at between 10 and 20 and then 20 and 30, you've got 9 interceptions on only 88 passes. That's 1 every 9 to 10 passes that he's throwing a pick and making a big mistake. Where on this chart does Cohen and this staff elevate him? Where is he? Is this like a hitting chart in baseball where you're not going to have every category red? You're going to have a weakness, and that's okay. So what do you do to accentuate some areas that you can get better in and maybe eliminate, like that deep middle third where you're making too many mistakes? How do you look at it?
So what I look at, Brent, is if what you can improve on and what's going to drastically change. And look, listen, I don't even have the stats in front of me in terms of like what Tampa Bay did last year and everything. But if I was going to venture a guess, you just said it. It's going to be that moderate. It's going to be the 10 to 20 deep half of the deep middle of the field, where you have you go 26 for 59, 433 yards, but 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions. To me, that's more than anything. That's the glaring weakness. That's the anomaly in this data, if you will. And what I think that stems from is Christian Kirk being out a little bit. And I think it stems from maybe not having the most confidence, being on the same page as either a slot receiver or a 2 receiver, right? Who can run those middle routes, who can run those, 10 plus yard posts and corners and things like that. If you see the outside of that chart, pretty successful, right? Well, this is where Brian Thomas Jr. comes into play, right? And this is the benefit of having a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. This was the benefit, and I don't want to guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure if you're going to do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year and what that chart looked like with Baker Mayfield, who liked to throw the ball down the field a little bit, I bet it was comparable in the deep passes because you had a guy in Mike Evans who's the ultimate jump ball, red zone, big play type of dude, a la Brian Thomas. What you didn't have, per se, was that slot covered, was that 2 receiver who could kind of take some of the edge off of Brian Thomas Jr., Brent. So what I think is going to be amplified this year with Liam Cohen now is going to be that middle of the field, that deep part of the middle when we're talking about the 2 receiver or we're talking about that slot receiver.
It's kind of cool comment from Coach Ripley here. He says, it's you understand that we have to have plays that work from -5 to 15 where every area has something good that QB1 likes to throw. So basically what he's saying is there a play that he likes to go to? Like we've talked about on the show before, he throws the out ball very well. I mean, he's got great arm talent, right? And he doesn't mind making that play. Usually a pretty safe play, that out route. He can throw the deep ball very well. But how do you get to some other touch areas? And I think people have been down on the touch of Trevor Lawrence at times. I actually think he's better than they give him credit for. I don't think this is like only throw fastballs. You see some comments like that, and I totally disagree with it. Again, worth noting here, everybody's like, he doesn't throw it in the middle of the field. These numbers would tell you otherwise. The other thing about that whole thing, and I look at it like almost like a bingo card there. I think there were 4 columns by 3. And there were like 4 columns, at least maybe 5 or 4 boxes that he's above average in the NFL. It's like, how many of those can you get to above average? That, to me, tells you maybe how good you are. Now, there are a lot of other metrics that factor into this, crunch time and other things, right? The stats don't only tell that story. There are other things that he has to do. But the more you can get those darker blue shades in those boxes, obviously, you would think the numbers would be better, the results would be better, the wins would be better, the points would be more, all those things. So that's where I really think Cohen comes in and these guys on this offensive staff to be able to elevate the game. And we know that short area is going to be accentuated with the screen game, but in those numbers, he's not bad at that. Like, those aren't bad areas. The question really comes that 10 to 20 range, that intermediate range, which is challenging for, I think, a lot of quarterbacks, and also the middle of the field where a lot more traffic goes on. Can you eliminate the mistakes? Those look like the 2 areas that you ask this coaching staff to get Trevor Lawrence feeling even better and let him just sit there and rip it and be confident in those spots. And if those numbers get better, he's going to play pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the middle of the field and how the season transpired, a lot goes into it, right? It's misreading. I mean, let's be honest here. If you're a quarterback at any level, it is harder to throw in the middle of the field than it is in the outside, because outside, okay, is it going to be zone or man coverage? You have a pretty good idea of what it's going to be right away, and you throw that guy open, whether it's man or zone. In the middle of the field, when we talk about safeties now and everything, high safeties, low safeties, zone coverages, like it's a little more tricky sometimes to diagnose in the matter of 3 or 4 seconds from getting hit in the backfield of what exactly that defense is in. So it is harder to throw the middle of the field because you have to diagnose things a little more, and you have to do that very quickly to avoid a quarterback sack. So there's that part. Then there's the part of, okay, well, you have Evan Ingram was hurt last year a lot, right? So you had a backup tight end. You had Christian Kirk, who was out a little bit as well. So that goes into it. And then you had some tipped balls, some overthrown balls that got tipped and everything. You had some turnovers there. So it kind of goes all hand in hand here. I think it's more of a combination of a lot of things, Brent. It's going to always be easier to throw to the outside of the field because that's safer, right? There's less variables to make mistakes with. But the great quarterbacks aren't afraid to make those throws in the middle. And I think if Liam Cohen can urge the confidence of Trevor Lawrence and the defense recognition, it'll only get better.
I've got this quiet confidence that these guys are going to elevate a lot of different players and positions on offense through scheme, coaching, everything else. I think it could be a little bit of fool's gold too, because I'm just kind of believe like the NFL is what the NFL is. And these guys are all pretty much good coaches schematically and know the game and the rules and all that stuff over time. This is really the first time, and we've done this a lot now here in Jacksonville in 17 years, that we've had a lot of changes and new ideas and new comments and thoughts. But I think what gives me that quiet confidence right now is these guys are really talking about it. Last week at the Combine, we played so much sound from Gladstone and from Cohen about schematically we can do some things. Schematically, we can do some things. Schematically, we can elevate these guys. We can put these guys in a different light. It's like, wow, okay. What does that look? We're going to find out, right? I mean, and Trevor is the first piece. He's the biggest piece. He is the piece that they have to do that with, but there just seems to be a lot of confidence that they can do simple things with the skill set of these players that are even currently on the roster without even adding a whole bunch of new talent in. You'll add some talent that you hope will join this, and that they will just elevate from either their coaching. And again, I think it is worth noting, Liam Cohen has been very good throughout his career before he was even calling plays, and people gave him credit for that the last couple of years, especially in Tampa. His claim to fame was quarterback coaching. Like, that's what he did. Like, that's what he was. That was his craft, is quarterback coaching. And now it's morphed into play calling and everything else, at least from an NFL look. So how much schematically in coaching can they change these guys and elevate these guys? And it's going to be fascinating to watch, because we're either going to be like, oh, well, they weren't telling us the truth, or they didn't deliver, or damn, this is pretty amazing that they were right about this and they figured it out. I mean, there's only two ways to go here.
No, absolutely. And a lot of that has to do, too, with how confident are you in the personnel? Because we see in the modern NFL now, there's a premium on the tight end position. There's a premium on the slot receiver. Well, why is that? Because the middle of the field is a lot more dangerous than the outside of the field, where your traditional one wide receivers will be lined up. Cooper Kupp made a name for himself a couple years ago because he was the guy that was the slot guy that could go down the middle, run every single route, make every single catch, and be that playmaker in a dangerous part of the field. Same thing with the tight end, like a Sam Laporta, if you will. So my question is going to be, too, of what do they think for this personnel? Are you going to let Evan Ingram walk? Are you confident now that you have backups in place that can take over and be starters? Are you confident that, Christian Kirk can maybe hopefully have a little resurgence of prior years and do what he needs to do in terms of being that slot guy, being that guy in the middle of the field? And then obviously, too, we've said this many times with Gabe Davis. How confident are we with him, right? Who's going to take some of that edge off of Brian Thomas Jr.? Who's going to be the guy that's going to run that post pattern, that's going to run that corner route, and maybe even a go route, and kind of replicate what he did in Buffalo? Can he do that? So, yeah, it's going to be schematically and everything. I get it, Brent. It's going to be play calling. It's going to be confidence in Trevor Lawrence, but he also needs the personnel to match.
Yeah, they need to do that. And so we're on the personnel side of it here over the next week or so, and then obviously a little bit later on with the draft too. Those are cool numbers by Daniel Griffiths. He goes deeper into each of those numbers in written form on actionsportsjacks.com. Go check it out. And all the articles Daniel's contributing, we appreciate his work. And that was a good topic today, kind of a fun one to break down Trevor Lawrence. And you can do that just about every day, because Trevor obviously is the key to this cog here in Jacksonville. Another key to this, and I brought this up to you guys. John Shipley he was at the Combine last week, writes for SI, and he did like an article. I can't remember if it was Sunday or Monday, just some takeaways. And what he did is he got some comments from AFC, NFC scouts, kind of anonymously, on some things. And the one thing that maybe stuck out to me in that story from John more than anything else, which, and I can't, maybe it's because I kind of feel this way too, and I don't know if we talk about it enough, even though Daniel Griffiths kind of wrote about it a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the pass rush. But one of the scouts was like, people don't talk about Trayvon Walker enough as a good player. They don't mention him enough. And that was from like a league person saying that. And I kind of feel like it's the same way here in town because we're so stuck on the Aiden Hutchinson versus the Trayvon Walker stuff. Then we have a hard time getting by that now based depending on what week it is. The people in the Trayvon camp will be like, hey, you got 2.5 sacks, or hey, Hutchinson got hurt all year. So, meanwhile, 4-sack night or something like that from Aiden Hutchinson, you're like, damn it, Bulky, why didn't you pick him, right? So we're buried in that conversation is the point.
Yes, Brent, we are bearing that conversation, but let's be honest here. I think people in Arizona right now are based on the conversation of, well, why didn't we get Brian Thomas Jr.? Why did we get Marvin Harrison? It's what fan bases do, right? They're always going to compare, especially that first year. They're always going to compare, like, well, look what he did. Well, look what he did compared to who we drafted him. But please continue. Sorry.
No, it's really just a note of. I just thought that was pretty. I thought it was pretty cool to hear that or see that. Because I do think, I think we get the narrative of the Hutchinson versus Walker stuff, which is always going to happen, much like you just referenced with everybody in BTJ. But the bottom line is the Jags have a really good football player on that spot outside of Josh Hines-Allen, and we do acknowledge that. But I think it's also like, hey, a lot of teams would love to have Trayvon Walker on their team. And so from an Anthony Campanile standpoint, And this is still a bit of an unknown here, Austin, too. And I don't know if we don't really find ourselves dreaming big on the Trayvon front, maybe enough or at all. See, Josh Hines-Allen got 17.5 sacks, so you know he can do it. Prior to that,
and to be fair, that's why I think Trayvon doesn't get mentioned sometimes, because you have a guy in Joshua Hines-Allen that has had a season with 17.5 sacks.
Yeah, but prior to that, he had 10.5 sacks. That was his career high. And I think that came in his rookie year. So where is the ceiling? I guess we're asking the ceiling for Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall pick. Where does the ceiling land on Trayvon Walker, who, by the way, looks to ascend? Has been a very consistent player, really, the last year and a half specifically, if you go look at his numbers and his games. And he was already doing things, I think, that football people noticed anyway without the sack totals. But now that production that didn't exist in college that had people nervous is now existing here in the NFL with back-to-back double-digit sack years. Very hard thing to do, by the way, not just here in Jacksonville, but across the NFL. So where does the ceiling? Do we talk about that enough? I mean, what does that look like? What can Campanile and this staff get out of him to obviously complement Josh Hines-Allen, but maybe even make him better than Josh Hines-Allen?
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's a little bit of a loaded question because it all depends on what it looks like of what the scheme's going to be, right? Because if you're a casual football fan, the first thing you look at if a defensive end or a defensive tackle is good or not, it's not turning on the film and saying, okay, wow, this guy can stop the run, this guy can give quarterbacks pressures. It's quarterback sacks. Like, that's the only stat that matters. And to be fair, you get paid. NFL teams will give you a lot of money if you have that prerequisite of having a lot of quarterback sacks.
Josh Allen, case in point, yeah.
Exactly. More than what your PFF grade is going to say, more than if you can stop the run, it's about quarterback sacks. So if you're asking me what I think Trayvon Walker could be, well, if you keep him on the edge, like I think you should, I mean, I think we're talking about a guy, Brent, who can get into that 14, 15, 16 sack range and have a monumental season and make his money. I think if we get infatuated with the size, the athleticism of what he's capable of in terms of moving him around, then I think we're talking more about maybe, 10, 12 sacks. And I'm not sure about, where, Campanile wants to use him yet. We'll find out more down the line and everything. It is nice to have a versatile guy, but, we think of guys like TJ Watt, right? We think of guys, I'm trying to think of another example here. We think of guys like Myles Garrett. where they're quarterback sack masters, right? We see the stats every single year. Usually they're going to be leading or at least top 5 in the NFL in that category. But then if you actually turn on the film and watch what they can do against the run, watch what they can do, again, just causing pressure, creating havoc, taking games over. A few group of guys can actually do that. And Myles Garrett and TJ Watt fall in that category. I think Trayvon Walker can fall in that category. So to answer your question, what can Trayvon Walker be? I think he can be a game wrecker. And that to me is the ultimate compliment. Yeah, you're going to have quarterback sacks, tackles for loss, stats, all this stuff, quarterback passes batted down, whatever. But can you be a game wrecker? Can you be a Myles Garrett? Can you be a TJ Watt? I think Trayvon Walker can be one of those guys.
Yeah, I think we've seen a couple glimpses of like Josh Hines Allen take over games. And I think you're right. You hit it right where I was going, man. That to me, it's almost less than a numbers thing. It's more of a dominance thing of what it looks like in a series. Remember, it was last year. I can't remember what game, but it was a series that it was Tennessee. I think it might have been Tennessee that Josh Hines Allen
had 2 in the last quarter.
Dominated. Yeah, I think it was, but it was a 1-2-3 play, like right in a row. And then there was the series Trayvon Walker. Remember Trayvon Walker comes up, makes that big lick at the goal line. Shoot, I can't remember the game, but he makes it. It was like a first down play, and he just like basically clotheslines whoever it was right at the goal line. And that might have been Tennessee too. Actually, that might have been Tennessee because remember they had both. Remember that early game? They didn't get in the end zone on one of those late drives. And anyway, they don't end up getting in. But he ruined that play right there. So can we see more of that where you remember those kind of plays? It's not just a sack here or there or even 10 or 12, but it's really that, like you said, yeah, you notice it. Because let's be honest, when you take a look at Myles Garrett and you take a look at TJ Watt, you don't notice them every play. See, that's the miss. That's the misnomer. Yeah. You don't notice those guys every play.
I mean, no, sure you don't, but like take Chris Jones, for example. Oh, first, okay, who was the dude from Tampa Bay? I can't remember his name, this is bad, but who was the guy from Tampa Bay that had like 18 sacks?
Oh, yeah.
Shaq Barrett?
Barrett, yeah.
Barrett, yeah, right? Like, dude had an incredible season, but then what did he do after that? I'm sure maybe he was suitable, but he didn't have a replication of that season.
It was a one-year wonder thing. Yeah.
Fell by the wayside, exactly. Take a guy like Chris Jones, and I'm saying Chris Jones when he's healthy and everything, and he still had a pretty decent year. Now the sack numbers are down and everything, but
yeah.
I remember a couple years ago when they were on their Super Bowl run, when they played Buffalo, you watched that Buffalo playoff game, he single-handedly really won the Chiefs that game.
Yeah.
Whether it was batted balls, whether it was pressure in the backfield. That's what I'm trying to say, Brent. That's what I'm getting at is like, yeah, maybe like you're not going to see him every single play, but when the game's on the line, when you need it the most, guys like TJ Watt, guys like Myles Garrett, guys like, the past, Aaron Donald, they're going to step up. Chris Jones, they're going to step up and win you a football game. And that's what I can see from Trayvon Walker.
That's exactly it, too. And I just want to I just think there's a little bit of a misrepresentation of if you're those guys, it's every play. That's not it. It's the plays that you feel like they met in crunch time specifically. See, I always thought Jan was good that year, especially with Jacksonville, where he would close some things out now, get a strip sack fumble. Those are the plays you kind of remember. Like those are cool deals. That's what you want in those final 3-4 minutes. How many times has Von Miller done nothing in his career in a game for the first 57 minutes? And then in the last 3, hammers at home, right? That's a lot of times what happens. I'll give you another Chris Jones one. The Chris Jones one was here in Jacksonville, week 2, 2023. Jags lose 17-9 in that game, and Anton Harrison had a rough day with him. He's lining up all over there. He had just come off the contract stalemate, which means he didn't play in the opener, so this was his first game. So his snaps were somewhat limited, but holy cow, man, every time he was in that game, he made a play. He completely dominated the front for Kansas City. He was the reason, especially in the red zone, because I think Trevor went like 0 for 7 that day in the red zone, where Chris Jones just stepped his game up. Can you get it to the next level? I think we've seen glimpses from Josh Hines Allen able to do that. That's really where I want to see Trayvon Walker go, I guess, is the moral of the story.
Listen, let me once again, to echo Brent Martineau, let me put a bow on it and let me wrap this whole thing up nicely. What I want from Trayvon Walker is I want the J.J. Watt effect. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to get 22 sacks a season out of Trayvon Walker. Like that's not a fair expectation. But what I'm saying, if you look at J.J. Watt, how he produced early, like later on in his career, it wasn't even about playing a 3 technique or defensive end. And listen, you know how I feel about it. I want to see Trayvon Walker at the edge because that's where I feel like he's best suited. But if you are, a new defensive coordinator in Campanelli and you see, okay, you know what? He's got the athleticism, he's got the size, he's got the length, we can move him inside, then I want it to be Brent, because Jaguars fans remember this very well. J.J. Watt against the Jaguars sometimes, he would just have a game. It would just be him. Didn't matter who else was beside him, behind him, J.J. Watt would take over. And the thing with J.J. Watt, which was so great about him, is that, yeah, he's athletic, he plays 3 technique, he plays edge, but they would literally game scheme have an entire defensive call sheet based off the weakness of an offensive line, right? And J.J. Watt would line up on the weakest offensive lineman, whether it was a guard, whether it was an offensive tackle, right side, left guard, right guard, didn't matter. Whoever the weakest guy was in that offense would get exposed. That's what I would want to see down the line from Trayvon Walker, where you can watch a football, you can scout, if you're Campanelli, you can watch an offense and be like, you know what? This rookie guard or this rookie tackle, he's shown signs of, man, he's going to fold in the big moments. Let's set Trayvon Walker right here and let's let him go to work. That's what I want for Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, I guess just to wrap this as well on my end, I don't think we talk about Trayvon enough. He's 3 years in with back-to-back double-digit sack totals. He's 24. He's 24. Like, he's going to be 25 in December, which means he'll play 80% of the season at 24 years old. I mean, the Jags are in such good position when it comes to their 2 edge guys, and now can they get everybody else around them on the defensive side better? It just gives you a lot of hope, I think, to look at the ceiling of Trayvon Walker, but a lot of hope that this defense can kind of course correct in a pretty quick time with those 2 guys on the edge and hopefully a better scheme in making it all work. Unbelievable. He's just 24. I mean, 24 for him, 25 for Trevor. What's Josh now, 27 probably? I mean, these are good years. That's the thing about, like, even Kirk's 28 if they do end up keeping him. You got Brian Thomas Jr.'s 23. It just really got some talented guys. Yeah. Josh 27 now. I mean, that's why James Gladstone wanted the job and Liam Cohen wanted the job. Maybe that is it in a nutshell. Hey, we've got the NHRA Gator Nationals coming up this week. Monster Jam on Saturday as well. And don't forget about the Amelia, the 30th edition of the Amelia. You can go to AmeliaConcours.com. Again, it has an S on it. It's silent, though, AmeliaConcours.com, or right in the left corner of our screen. Every time I mention this, by the way, the Bozard mobile service QR code is up. Like, anytime I mention this, I never get to the Amelia one. It's coming up in just a moment, but you can click the QR code or take a shot at that, and that's get more information. Everything gets rolling, by the way, tomorrow up there in Amelia. And things start as soon as 9 in the morning, and then festivities Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Go check it out. More than 27,000 on hand last year. Make it a 30,000 number plus this year in the 30th edition of the Amelia. We'll be right back. Brent Austen Show. A-Sun tournament coming to Jacksonville. We talk to the commish up next on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants.
We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter.
Right now, you can save $500 on a Connecticut Premier Softener and get a free Connect Salt Monitor with purchase. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Wow, look at this. I was like, what are you showing me right here? Hamby always surprises me. And I'm like, what is he doing? That's Jeff Bacon right there, commissioner of the A-Sun, announcing, we're coming to Jacksonville. The A-Sun has moved their headquarters, if you did not know that, now a couple of years ago, to Jacksonville. So we welcome them here to the 904, and it's always a great place to be with two institutions, by the way, in the A-Sun, University of North Florida and Jacksonville University. And no favoritism there, by the way, just a good spot to move the headquarters to, but also makes some sense. And now moving the conference tournaments in basketball, men's and women's, to Jacksonville. It's a big news this morning out from the A-Sun, and right now Jeff Bacon joins us, the commissioner of the A-Sun, right in the middle of things, too. He's headed to Nashville tomorrow. We've got the Final Four, the semifinals in A-Sun in play and punching that ticket to the dance for the ASUN. Been a good start to the tournament already.
Amazing start to the tournament. We have had some of the best atmospheres and games that you could expect all season. So great teams. The top half of our league is so darn good that these games at the end are just unbelievable. The 4 teams that are left, it's anybody's game.
Anybody's game, and you're right. And I know most people like to say that it's sports anyway. Like
Sure.
that's enjoyable. But seriously, this one's been hard to predict. Now Lipscomb and North Alabama seem to be the head of the class. I mean, you play the season out for a reason, and they've got a lot of experience, and that really helps. And of course, they'll be at home, and home court certainly helps.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, home records are better, period, right?
They are.
And though you said it, those two teams are experienced, they're senior driven, they're really deep. They're starting fives on both of those squads are really, really deep. So they've been the best two teams all year. That's why they're the 1 and 2 seeds. But I wouldn't count out the Royals at Queens, or I certainly wouldn't count out the Dolphins here at Jacksonville as well. Those teams are playing really well.
Yeah, and Queens was a surprise early on in the season, at least to me from the outside looking in. They got off to a 5-0 start, and now look at them right here at the finish line, too. That doesn't always happen. So 2 big games coming up tomorrow, and then getting that ticket punch to the NCAA tournament. How much does it mean, by the way, before we get into the conference coming here and some other things, how much does it mean to have that ASUN logo, to have that ASUN team in the tournament? Now, listen, you're going to get one. Every conference is going to get one.
Right.
But, I mean, how we look at it through the lens of locally here, like UNF for JU. It'd be a huge deal. Only happened once in the last 40 years, UNF in 2015. But how about from the conference standpoint?
It's the same thing, right? I mean, you're proud of the brand that you represent, and our brand represents our 12 schools, right? So it's an extension of JU and UNF and all the folks in the league. So our ability to tell our story, which is really magnification, right, of the stories that our schools try to tell. So it's a proud moment to see your logo out there. It's even more exciting when we actually surprise somebody and knock somebody off. So we're rooting for a really good seed and a really good matchup too,
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into this, and there's been a lot going on since you took over as the commissioner in 2023.
No
a move
doubt.
here to Jacksonville, now this conference tournament. What's it been like for the last couple of years for you?
Exciting and nonstop. You said it. I mean, there's a lot going on. The move was one thing, getting the tournament decision, because we started this process, as you know, I mean, a year ago, and it's been exhaustive. And our athletic directors have spent a ton of time on it. Our office has spent a ton of time on it. Our presidents on our campuses. So to have this behind us is really a relief to some degree from your peace of mind. But it's exciting to finally know where we're going and move this thing forward. And you layer that on top of everything that's happening in college athletics these days. And the chaos that exists in our landscape, and it's been an interesting first couple of years as a first-time commissioner for sure.
There's so many things I'd like to get into, and you're leading me down a path, but let me not bury the lead. It's coming to Jacksonville, and it's going downtown, and this is an interesting decision. These aren't easy decisions. The neutral site, the big arena, why? Why did you guys decide to make Jacksonville the home for this tournament?
Well, I'm really glad you say you guys, because this is a collective decision, right? We as a conference office don't really make a whole lot of decisions. My job as a commissioner is to listen to our campuses, to listen to our presidents, to listen to our athletic directors. And I tell you, before I even started the job, after I got it, one of the first things that I heard in listening to our membership was there was a real interest in looking at a neutral site championship. So when I did start the job in the summer of 23, made the decision that we're going to look at this and we're going to have a conversation with our membership, and ultimately they decide everything we do, right? We've got 12 campuses. It's up to them to decide what we do and when and how we do it. So we did some work on our side. We explored the options that were out there. We talked to many, many cities. I mean, the level of enthusiasm around the Southeast for this event and the number of cities that wanted it was almost overwhelming, but great to see. And so we spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. So we knew right early on we had to answer this question. And when it came down to it and we started talking with our athletic directors, it's a piece-by-piece conversation. You just alluded to it. Do we want to be at a neutral site atmosphere? Do we want to be on our campuses? Because we got great environments on our campuses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you watched those games a couple nights ago, unbelievable. And so, there's probably some fans that aren't going to be thrilled to lose the opportunity to watch those games in their own gyms in that kind of atmosphere. And I get it. I agree. That's that's a challenge that comes along with this, or one of the consequences, right, that comes along with this. But at the end of the day, it was an opportunity to bring both of our tournaments together, our men and our women, provide the same exact experience for both in an incredible venue. I love VyStar.
Yeah,
I mean, I've had the opportunity to go as a fan and as a commissioner and see it and meet the people there. Great venue, great location, right on the water, right? So it's a great venue experience for them. It's big time, right? We're Division I. We play Division I college basketball. And we want to invest in that. And we want to show that we, mean business and treat our student athletes like elite student athletes, because that's what they are. So to bring them there, to play in that environment, to have the opportunity to celebrate basketball in this conference all together is really exciting. All 12 teams are coming here on both the men's and the women's side, right? And that's a lot of people coming to Jacksonville, but it also means all of our schools are going to be here. All their alumni bases, all their donor bases, all their fans, all their administration, everybody in one roof. We're going to have a really big party, in Jacksonville. And so that's exciting. And our media partners love it as well. It benefits us on the external side just as much as it does the internal side.
Well, I was going to say this, and not to toot our own horn in Jacksonville, but I think obviously you got the Nashville market.
That's right.
There's a lot there, but Jacksonville's a big market for the ASUN.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of those. Yeah, Nashville, Louisville, Charlotte, just to name a few. I mean, there's more. We're in 20 million homes, which is an incredible number at our level. If you think about a peer conference at our level, you're talking half to a quarter of that kind of audience. So we're in great markets, and that led to a lot of the interest that we saw. We got a lot of major market interest in this event, but Jacksonville isn't a slouch in that category, right? This is a huge market, and what I'm really excited about, and part of the reason we moved the office here too, right, is the growth that's taking place here. I mean, this state's the second most populated state in the country, and it's accelerating at an incredible rate. So the population growth here and in Duval County is exciting. So
26 and a 3-year deal for men and women is what it looks like.
We'll start in 26 at multi-year deal. I'd say multi-year deal. We're working through the specifics of that still with the city and the venue. But yeah, and frankly, whatever it ends up being, we want to be here for a really long time.
Yeah. What does success look like for you guys in this tournament?
Success, college athletics, people hear this all the time, but it's because it's true. I mean, success is making sure that our student athletes have an awesome experience. This is what I tell my staff, for example. We want to have a championship where, imagine that student athlete that is in their last year of school. I've been there 4 or 5, these days maybe 6 years, right? And I'm in my last year. I've never gone to the championship. We've never been able to make it. And in my last year, I finally get to the championship. I walk out on the field, on the court, into the pool, wherever it is. I get my butt kicked, and I go home. And that's it. That's my only experience. I want that experience to be elite. I want that student athlete to say, whether it's weeks, days, years later, man, that was awesome. Even though we didn't win, it was awesome. So that's our barometer for this, right? The student athlete experience and making sure it's elite for them. So I think that's success for us internally. Externally, we want to activate the community. I mean, I hope this is an event that the fans and families in particular and the basketball community here in Jacksonville can get really excited about.
Yeah, but we just sent a bunch of teams. We have Ponte Vedra playing in the Final Four. I was thinking that same way. I was like, wow, this would really be something that's great to embrace with the high school teams or travel teams or just the sport in general, both on the girls and boys side and the high school ranks or the youth ranks. But you can certainly captivate that crowd,
and we can now. We're our NCAA rule structure is crumbling by the day, so we can do that now. Years ago we couldn't even market our events to high school basketball student athletes.
That's wild.
It's crazy, and now we can finally. So I want every single high school basketball student athlete in Duval County and all the surrounding areas to make their way to that arena, that march. And we're going to try to get them there. We're going to try to make it worth their time and give them a great experience too.
You're looking at the whole umbrella of the ASUN. There's obviously a lot of different sports and big areas of the country that you mentioned specifically here in the Southeast. But this league, before you got here, there were times like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
People were moving around. It looks like the league has really settled in, and at least from a basketball standpoint, really looks strong. How is that? Is that viewed as a bias from me being here and covering UNF and JU and seeing what they've done and can be, and then other teams like Eastern Kentucky and Lipscomb, North Alabama that have come into the league as well, and they're good and their basketball's important to them, like at Eastern Kentucky and other places? Or is that kind of the view from your peers? Like, hey, you guys have settled this thing down, but also, trying to get to that big dance in March, you guys have a lot of good potential there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, right? In terms of stability and membership, yeah, I feel like we're in a pretty good spot right now, and that's really to the credit of our campuses and our leadership on our campuses. We may look different. Queens University of Charlotte does not look like Austin Peay, does not look like UNF, does not look like Florida Gulf Coast, on down the line. We look a lot different, but our objectives, our priorities are 100% aligned. The value of occupying the Southeast, where we're investing our dollars, what we're trying to do for our student athletes, the fact that all of our schools are growing exponentially at the same time, enrollments are going up. I came here from a part of the country where enrollments are going down. So we have kind of this secret sauce in our back pocket that everybody can rally around. So we feel like our league is really strong and stable right now. But the reality is, you can see what's going on in the country right now, and there's more to come. The instability of conference realignment is not going away. So do we feel good today? Absolutely. Could we feel differently tomorrow? Absolutely. Yeah. It's just the way of the world these days. And really, until we fix so many things that are happening in college athletics, probably going to continue.
Yeah, when, in your opinion, does that settle down from your view?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get too carried away here, so you can stop me. But, we're putting in a new governance structure in the NCAA this summer. We're going real quick. We're trying to change the model so that it makes more sense for people. That's the broad way to say it. And I would hope that wherever we land with that helps secure some stability for people. If that's not a priority in this process, we got a real problem, right? But so as that settles in, hopefully that helps. As the stratification, as you'd like to say, maybe in Division I starts to settle, we don't look the same. The reality is that my schools are trying to compete with Florida and Florida State. And you know what? They do. I mean, we beat them sometimes, right? Yeah. Despite the fact that their budgets are, 7, 8, 9, 10 times what ours are.
At least.
Yeah. So, we've got there's 363 schools in Division I. It's hard to get 363 schools on the same page. So I think we got to have a model that allows us to operate within Division I, but still have some differences and embrace and acknowledge those differences. It's okay. We don't have to look like Florida and Florida State. We can still be really successful.
How challenging has it been for your teams in this league to handle the transfer portal, NIL, that competition as you're trying to compete with some of these, which, by the way, you can. I mean, we're talking about here locally to start the year. UNF beat 2 Power 4s. JU beat a Power 4. I mean, and other schools in the conference beat Power 4s. Like, that is a real thing, but to be able to compete, they're just going to go grab their best players, as we see here locally. Again, Chaz Lanier playing for Tennessee. Awesome for him. Great opportunity. But now one of the best teams players in the country that could have been right here in our backyard helping the Ospreys maybe be in this position. Those are just real life issues right now.
Yeah.
For how do you guys help guide that? Is it different from school to school? And can you do anything about it?
Well, I mean, there's some positives about this that I don't know that people talk about that much, or some realities maybe is a better word that I don't know that people talk about that much. One, it hits everybody.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are in the ecosystem, you're dealing with this. You can be Florida, Ohio State, Alabama, you're dealing with this. You've got people coming after your best athletes all the time, and you either have to spend more money to keep them or watch them go. So you're seeing it at the highest levels. You're seeing it at the lowest levels. It's just a domino. It's just a trickle-down ecosystem. So everybody's dealing with it. So just get used to it and accept it, Change is okay. Be comfortable being uncomfortable for a while here, because you're just going to have to be. And if you do it right, if you manage it correctly, you can take advantage of it. If other people are complaining and woe is meing, the transfer portal and the environment we live in these days, well, they're going to lose. Those are the guys that are going to lose, But you might lose a Chaz Lanier, but go out and find the next guy.
That's right.
And UNF's a great example. I mean, stick with them. With Chaz leaving and he's doing great things, right? Great student athlete, good opportunity for him. We should feel happy for him, right, for what he's been able to do. But you know what UNF does? They don't sit on their heels. They go out and they got a Freshman of the Year candidate who just made, I think, second team or third team All-A-Sun in Josh Harris, who's a superstar in the making himself. So just go find the next guy. And if you can do that, you can take advantage. You might lose some guys, but you also have the opportunity to go get some guys.
Yeah, well said. That's a good example of it happening. Jeff Bacon, commissioner of the A-Sun. Jacksonville is going to host the A-Sun tournament, men's and women's basketball, starting in 2026 on a multi-year deal, which is really cool for our area. We love mid-major basketball, and this will be a great opportunity, of course, with two local schools. And Jacksonville University is still trying to get in that dance for the first time since 1986. They play tomorrow night against Lipscomb, and then they'll have to win another one on top of that. But it's that time of the year. It's a fun time of the year. I'm going to answer or ask you a question in the chat, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. UNF Arena, you could not have played the tournament there, right? I mean,
in its
you didn't
entirety,
want to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be tough. I mean, that's a great arena. Look, I don't want to slight that arena. That's a magnificent arena. I mean, could you potentially play it there? Maybe. We didn't explore that. Our focus was being at an air quote neutral site.
Yeah.
So even though we're in the city of Jacksonville, we're in a venue that's no one's home.
Yeah.
Right. And
I get
so,
that.
Yeah, I think that was the impetus. So that's a great arena. Could you probably do it to some degree? Maybe. Could you do it the volume that we're doing it? I'm not so sure.
What happens now from you guys have already put a lot of work into this and settled here on Jacksonville. Now what happens from the time you cut down the nets, whoever does this weekend for the A-Sun to when we host this thing in a year?
Well, we talk about the planning and what has to go into an event of this magnitude to make it successful. It's got to be a 360-day plan, right? You take the 5 days off that you're playing your current tournament, but as soon as that is over, you're getting ready for the next tournament. And that's just the magnitude of what goes into it. And that's without considering the fact that we're going to build this thing from scratch. Right? A standing tournament of that magnitude requires that much time and attention. So we're starting now. And we're already talking about marketing plans, and we're already talking about brand activation. We're talking about partnerships. We're talking with ViStar about the logistical setup and tickets and those types of things. So it starts now. It's going to be a sprint probably to the fall to get everything ready. But our plan will be to have everything set and ready to go come this fall, so that we're ready to execute that plan the rest of the year.
Two things on that front. Is there another tournament across the country and another conference that you guys kind of have an eyes on that said, hey, this is a pretty good model. We think we can fit in there. Is there an example of that? And then I guess secondly, this is a great event town. I mean, we're about to host the Players' Championship next week, right? Do a great job of that. From the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl to a bunch of different events.
Yeah.
Are there any of those kind of events and things that you guys will work with and lean on to be like, hey, we can take some of these concepts and bring it to this, maybe fresh to a conference basketball tournament, but kind of lean on other areas and maybe even other sports to do it?
Yeah, we want to take what we know and make it better, right? Enhance it. So, yeah, we have models to lean on of conference examples. In fact, the conference that I came here from, the Mid-American Conference, has been 25 years in a row in an NBA arena, men and women together in 1 week. They don't take all their teams. They don't take 12 teams. This will be a lift for us. 24 teams is a lot. The max taking, 8 on the men and 8 on the women. And a lot of conferences do that. So, I bring a little bit of background experience from that side of it. And there's other conferences we can look at and lean on in terms of how we choose to execute it here. But what's exciting about the building it from scratch, like I said, and to your point, is we can now take all of those experiences that this city has in the sports world, and we can blend those together. We're not in a box. We can build the box. So, yeah, to be able to talk to people that have had experience with Sawgrass and the other events that have been here is going to be a huge advantage. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not unexcited. I'm pretty excited about the fact that we're the week before the Players.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's a nice lead-in.
That is. That's a heck of a lead-in, right? Yeah. Does that matter, by the way, the calendar? Because you guys start pretty early relative to a lot of other conferences anyway.
Oh, it matters. It matters tremendously. I mean, we start early mostly for our national television opportunities. By the way, our men's and women's championship games will both be broadcast to a national TV audience from Jacksonville. So that's really cool for the community and for us. But yeah, I mean, if our tournament was the following week, we wouldn't be in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
We just wouldn't. We couldn't because of the Players that's taking place. So calendar's critical.
Yeah, and on a lot of different fronts.
Yeah.
Jeff Bacon with us, commissioner of the A-Sun, as we wrap this thing up. 12 teams are coming. Was that significant when you talked to the ADs and everybody? Did they want everybody involved?
We had a great conversation about that because, one of the funnest things to do in college athletics or in sports in general, right, is talk about who should be in the playoffs, who shouldn't be in the playoffs, should they expand the playoffs, all those types of things. And we had a great, really healthy conversation about that with our athletic directors. They landed on all 12 because they want it to be a celebration of basketball, right? And they want everyone to be able to come to Jacksonville and have that experience. And also on the flip side, what they really did a nice job seeing and understanding and articulating was the value of the city. If we're going to come here, let's make sure that everybody's here. Let's make sure we bring as many fans, as many donors, as many teams that we can to fill up this town. Everybody knows they're going to be here. Everybody can plan. Everybody can buy a plane ticket and get a hotel room. Let's commit on both sides of this. It's great for us, and we think it's great for Jax.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you what has you excited after basketball season for the spring. I mean, obviously we're in the middle of it. We know it around here, and you guys have some great baseball programs, softball programs. Tennis championships are going to be right here in Jacksonville as well once again on April 19th, I think it is. Track and field. I mean, golf, you got to load it up. But does anything have you that we should be keeping an eye on, obviously outside of the city limits of Jacksonville, which we do most of the time?
Yeah, well, I mean, locally, there's a lot happening. You mentioned the championships are taking place here in Jacksonville. UNF's going to host tennis on the 19th, like you said. That's right. You nailed that one. Baseball for us is huge. Softball for us is huge. Those two sports are just played at such an elite level in this league, and I'm not used to that coming from the Midwest. We had some great baseball where I came from, but this is another level down here. The talent that comes out of our campuses in the baseball and softball space is just incredible. So I'm always excited for baseball and softball season, no doubt. And then I think, nationally, looking ahead to, we're talking about expanding the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments potentially. And I think that has some really exciting opportunities embedded within it. So I think there's some local things that are exciting, but really a lot of national things that are exciting.
You like that idea?
I do like that idea. As long as if you can do it in a way that doesn't dilute the finances that are built into the tournament, which are important. We need those dollars. Our campuses need those dollars. So we don't want to dilute the financial pool. And if you can do it within the existing calendar structure and not put additional pressures, which we're pretty limited. We can't back up into the Masters, right?
Yep.
And we can't move forward because of conference tournaments by and large. So we're pretty trapped in terms of the dates. So if we can do it within the construct, if we can do it without diluting the finances, I love it. I love it. There's 363 schools. There's 68 that play in the championship. I'd love to see 72 or 76 have that opportunity, and that might benefit a league like ours.
That's right. Maybe get that in at large. I mean,
right.
it could go to the Power Fours, but maybe you sneak in at large now and again if you have two strong teams.
More space is more space, right?
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad, especially for a league like the A-Sun. Great to have the A-Sun here in Jacksonville. Great to have the A-Sun men's and women's basketball tournament coming to Jacksonville in 2026. Jeff Bacon, thanks for stopping by, man. Exciting news. It's not going to settle down, by the way.
No doubt. But thanks for having me. It's great to see you again. I appreciate you spending the time on this, and we're tremendously excited to enhance our presence in Jacksonville next year.
All right, go root for the A-Sun. Maybe it will be right here in the 904 with Jacksonville University still in this Final Four in the A-Sun men's basketball tournament coming up over this next few days and into the weekend. Take a time out. Brent Austin Show, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Hey, I'll give you another A-Sun plug. I think I'm going to go live on TV tonight from the softball complex at UNF as they host number 8 Florida State. And UNF's good now. Got one of the best players in the country in Allison Benning. Maybe check that one out. Even if you're an FSU fan, come on over to the UNF softball complex later tonight.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service. A meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between, juggling my show Jags Social to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, It's a daily tournament, but this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone.
The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call.
Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, you can take 10% off any water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579. It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to String Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to String Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Well, how about this? The Jaguars are going to release Christian Kirk, according to Adam Schefter. So now that all of a sudden becomes a major story around here in Jacksonville. And I guess not a stunning story, but one that leaves me not feeling so great. I don't love it. Like, I really don't. I like Christian a lot. I think, does this mean they couldn't restructure? Did they even try to restructure? Does it mean Trevor doesn't have as big a voice as maybe we thought he would here? What's your initial reaction? I mean, we knew this could come.
Yeah.
But what I guess there are three big things. What's the initial reaction to it? What's it say? Mm-hmm. And then where are the Jags going now to fill the void? Like, where's that part of it? Is that a free agency void? Or is that, hey, number 5 pick just became a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it could have. I don't like it right off the bat. I think the injuries are one thing, but you look at what Trevor was able to do in the record when he was on the field, it speaks for itself. Look, what they're going to be able to do with, $10 million or whatever it is, I just don't see anybody out there that's better than him. There's not a single free agent that is out there that I would say is 100% better than Christian Kirk is going to be able to make an immediate impact given the time that it takes to develop a relationship between a quarterback and a receiver. And Trevor Lawrence had a dadgum good one with Christian Kirk, and that was his guy. I don't think it's worth it. But yeah, I hope they don't go sign somebody in free agency because it just won't taste like it. They're just not going to live up to what Christian Kirk was in my mind, whether that's true or not, whether I remember him being when he was healthy. So it's just going to feel disappointing almost regardless, unless they're unbelievable.
Are you surprised by it? Because there's a level of I think there is a level of surprise for me, and I understand. Listen, we knew it could be. It's been a topic, right? It's been a topic. And what did we say when we interviewed Liam Cohen at the Combine? And the answer, right? Remember we did this on Friday. The answer on Kirk was like, "Ooh, that did not sound endorsing."
Yeah.
Like that's a guy that's trying to answer a question, but doesn't really think the outcome's going to go like that. There's a reason why those names aren't like Austen said, rattled off the tongue of Cohen in the introductory news conference. So YB400 says, I hope they get someone that get more production than Kirk. Kirk was that dude because when he went down, our team really was not good. Yeah, it's true. He says, I'm surprised. You know where my level of surprise comes more than anything else? Is that I thought this would land on some kind of restructure type of thing. Mm-hmm. But also, again, I feel like this is a voice of Trevor opportunity here. And I don't know what that says. You know, and by the way, just because it's a business, he gets it. I mean, he was pretty tight with Zay Jones, I think, too, and Marvin Jones when he was here. It happens.
Yeah, he's going to be tight with them all.
You can't just, hey, I want to keep everybody. But I just wonder what those conversations were like and how much this new regime was listening or like, listen, we just got to do it. And Trevor's probably like, listen, I get it. I get where you're coming from. I hate to lose this guy, but and then there's this other reality. He has been injured the last couple of years. Now, if you get rid of every guy that's been injured the last couple of years,
we wouldn't have much of an offense.
You wouldn't have a quarterback either. So does that play a role? Does availability play a role? Like I think of availability when I think of like Tom Coughlin. Like what move would Tom Coughlin make here? And he would not be happy that Kirk wasn't able to be healthy the last couple of years. Is that Kirk's fault? No. But I'm just saying that availability is an important thing. And especially when you're going to dish out a lot of money. So there's a lot going on with this thing. But I will say I'm a bit surprised that they couldn't work something out. Now, there's a lot of value still in Kirk, and so maybe his side, his team, his agent, him, like, listen, I'm not taking X amount of money. I got hurt, but I mean, when I'm out there, I also was on my way to career years, the first 2 years. And this team didn't do well without him. Like, did they have some leverage in that? And this team did not perform well without him on offense. I think that does say a lot. So now you go to replacement. Like, are they going to bring in Godwin? A guy that's also been hurt the same amount of time? Like, that doesn't seem...
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't seem to be the case. I don't think. But we just talked earlier in the show today. Could you go get a Bucs player or a Rams player and you got the system now, you know a little bit, you speak a little bit of the language? Maybe. I don't know where they do it. Or do they go in the draft?
Right.
And do you just go the cheaper, younger route as you start to pivot this thing forward with Brian Thomas Jr., another stud wide receiver potentially, and I don't know if that's at number 5 or if it's in the second round pick or you move around draft capital, whatever it is, but could that possibly be what you do there instead of going to get a big guy or anything else? I think it now brings it into play more, right? If we're going to have conversations the rest of the week, we're going to say, okay, what about Ted McMillan? What about Travis Hunter? Is that now way more in play right here as we approach the end of the show on a Wednesday than it was 10 minutes ago? I would think.
I don't know. I think so, too. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of people go looking for Tet or looking for Travis in the first round or at least in the second.
listen, C. Cotto 83. The injuries are the injuries. I don't label guys as injured. They can't do anything about some of these things. It was a hell of a catch when he broke his collarbone, right? But I don't think people are saying he's always hurt. I think the reality is since 2 Decembers ago, he's been hurt quite a bit, and he hasn't been available. And that's just the hardcore nature of this business where people look at availability and a trend.
What do you think this means for Evan Ingram? Think it changes anything?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what is Evan Ingram and obviously Gabe Davis? I think Gabe Davis is around. I've told you that since day one because the contract is good, actually, this year. Like the actual money on the contract is not bad at all. You're not trading him. He's got no value to trade, I don't think, very little value. So I think he's going to be a part of it. But the Ingram one, did they basically pick Kirk or Ingram?
Mm-hmm.
Or could it be both?
Could it be both?
And that will be interesting to watch. Did they need to save
$10 million?
$10 million? Like, they don't need to.
10.4.
They don't need to. But now they do, and certainly that's money where you can go get somebody else. I think somebody mentioned Devontae. Like, I don't see them going to chase one of these big free agent wide receivers and replacing Christian Kirk's. Again, let's just say you could restructure and keep it around 15, 16, 17, $18 million, something like that. I mean, how much are you going to pay somebody else coming in who also will have question marks?
Yeah, you made the move to get cheaper. You didn't make the move to make an upgrade at that based off of productivity in year one.
Yeah.
You're not going to sign a free agent that was more expensive than he would have been on a restructured deal. Not even on a restructured deal. You're not going to do that.
Yeah, so anyway, we end the show with some breaking news that Christian Kirk, according to Adam Schefter, is going to be released by the Jags. This is not a stunning move, but I would still say I'm a bit surprised by the move. I thought this would work out in the favor of Christian Kirk and staying with Jacksonville another year. Again, this is a guy that's 28 years old, I think it is. He's got plenty of good ball still ahead of him. I thought he was a big part of this here in Jacksonville. It was great having Christian Kirk here. It was unfortunate he got hurt in the last 15 months of his Jacksonville career, as much as he did and missed games. But a big part of, I think, the growth of Trevor Lawrence, and really he was a big part of this offense because when he went out, this offense really struggled. Now, other people did too, but he went out, this offense really struggled. So now what do we watch? We watch who's next.
Mm-hmm.
We watch, like, Ingram specifically. Could that be another domino here? And then what do the Jags do? Do they address this next week in free agency, or do they wait until the draft?
I got one more thing, and it's, I didn't, I guess, consider this as much prior to this, but now you look at the Jags receiver room and the guys that have actually produced something at the NFL level. We have Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis. That's our receiver room right now.
It's amazing when you take one guy away.
It seems
how
so empty.
Quickly it goes from But so two things. I could go all day. We're going over a little bit on the stream. Already we've started Cup Date on the stream. In a week with us is at 1:30, and then we're back for no gate fees, by the way, at 2:00, presented by the McBuick GMC, Baker Sports, and Perfect Rack Billiards. So that's coming up, talking baseball and softball. But we hang on for another minute or two before we hit our final commercial break on social media. And the one name we haven't mentioned is Parker Washington. Do they believe in Parker Washington? And Z Fortner just said it, actually. Just said it as I was saying it. Don't sleep on Parker Washington.
But as far as real NFL production,
yeah, I don't.
You can't count him yet.
I guess the thing is, is that part of this equation? I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. We're going to have to digest this a little bit more. I don't know if it's part of the equation, but I think Parker Washington and trying to develop him and give him more opportunities. They at least have somebody in that role,
sure,
to be able to fill, right? And then the other part of this for me is it was really going to be hard if you didn't make the Kirk and or Ingram move to run everything back.
Mm-hmm.
This team is coming back on offense basically as is until you make a move like this, and obviously Sheriff. But that is not an overhaul from an offense that's really disappointed. So I think in some respects, it's almost like, and they kind of had to do something to change this thing up. And this was the move that you could make. And I really feel bad for Kirk because I think he really would like to be here. And that's not, think about that statement now, but that's not always like a thing in Jacksonville. That you're like, man, I really don't want to go anywhere. I want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was pretty genuine. Now, he'll be fine and move on. He'll play well and he'll join a good team, whatever, all those things. He's a good player, man. He's a good player. But I kind of feel a little bit bad. This is a guy in Jacksonville that wants to be in Jacksonville.
And made it known.
There. But I believe it. A lot of people will say something in front of a microphone. I think it was pretty genuine. And he's not going to have that opportunity. Just the nature of the business sometimes. All right, so we end the show with that bit of breaking news. Good to have the A-Sun commish on just a short time ago. The tournament is coming to Jacksonville. By the way, one thing I did not say in there, the early rounds of that tournament are not all at VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. They are still on campus sites. So that part, you're not going to have to fill that up in that sense. Like they're going to probably... I don't know exactly where the delineation is, but it's toward the end of the week where they'll have the tournament here in Jacksonville, and then obviously the championship games downtown at the arena. So more on that coming up throughout, obviously, the next couple days, couple weeks, couple months, and more to come on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network all day today. CBS 47, Fox 30 for the latest on this Kirk stuff that just dropped and everything else going on in the world of sports, and we'll be all over social media with this one as well. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Wednesday. Back at it tomorrow, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. on the Brent Austen Show. And don't forget to check out everything on this network on actionsportsjacks.com. Look at the day today. Oh, we got a day. We love this day. A lot of original programming. And that includes the Scrap House later tonight. Big week in wrestling. Casey Kurtz, Austen Lane will have you covered. Have a good day, everybody.